Chapter 657. When Hua Hongyi saw that Chen Tianhua and Liao Feichen were both staring blankly in front of them, he couldn't help but feel a little puzzled. When he followed the direction of their gazes, he was also stunned. What kind of scene was that? The road was greenish-gray, and the wall was surrounded by black iron bars. Behind the wall, there was a huge building with a very different style. Many large pieces of colored glass on the wall of the building reflected the morning sun, reflecting a dazzling brilliance. In the middle of the building, there were two steeples, like two sharp swords piercing the sky. Moreover, they could vaguely see that behind the building, there were many other similar buildings. From their angle, they couldn't see the whole picture of the college. From this, it could be seen that the college occupied a large area. Oh my God! This Yanhuang College's construction is too. Hua Hongyi was so shocked that his mouth was wide open, and he didn't know what to say. Those examinees weren't talking nonsense. This Yanhuang College is really like a palace of immortals. Liao Feichen had never seen such a domineering college. He wiped his saliva and added on Hua Hongyi's unfinished words. The architectural style is very different from ordinary buildings, but if you look carefully, you can still feel a majestic aura coming from it. Moreover, the materials used for this building are rare, and its height is amazing. It's really uncanny workmanship, and it's not an exaggeration to call it a palace of immortals. Chen Tianhua looked up at the central twin steeples of the Guanghua building, and his heart was surging with emotions. He couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. At this moment, Hua Hongyi suddenly thought of the old man in blue he had just met at the foot of the mountain. He said, "That old man was right. Now that I see the true appearance of Yanhuang College, I can't say those words." That sentence was naturally referring to him, saying that Yanhuang College's buildings were just a pile of dead things. "Okay, hurry up and line up. Don't you see that there are so many people in front of you?" Liao Feichen urged. The other two were stunned. Only then did they notice that there were dozens of long lines at the entrance of Yanhuang College. Their attention had just been attracted by the magnificent Guanghua building, so they didn't pay attention to this side. Now that they saw it, they didn't dare to blindly sigh here and hurriedly walked to the place where the crowd was queuing. Among the sea of people, there were many who knew each other, and a large portion of them were former students of the School of Mathematics. Iron Egg, you're here too." Sun Zifen, who was in the first row on the east side, laughed out loud. Iron Egg smiled and said, "Well, today is such an important day, of course I have to come. But Zifen, why did you come in person?" Today's Iron Egg's words and actions were far beyond those of his peers. It could only be said that the people he came into contact with were different, and the speed at which his abilities and thoughts improved was also different. Anyway, since I have nothing to do at home, why don't I come to the academy to see my former classmates and catch up on the old days? Besides, the establishment of Yanhuang College is due to our efforts. Isn't it wonderful to come and see the fruits of our labor praised by others? Sun Zifen smiled proudly. Iron Egg was speechless. He thought that the reason of seeing his former classmates and so on was definitely secondary. The main reason was at the back, right? "Hey, Iron Egg, this is..." After Sun Zifen was done being proud, he noticed that there was a chubby boy behind Iron Egg, who was following Iron Egg step by step. Sun Zifen asked, "Oh, this is a friend of mine from the same village. His name is Hu Guoqi. Because of some things, he has some contact with my master. He has taught himself pinyin and arithmetic before. He is still young, and this time he is mainly here to see the entrance exam of Yanhuang College. It doesn't matter if he can pass or not." Iron Egg pulled Hu Guoqi out and introduced him. Then he saw that Hu Guoqi was a little confused and uneasy, so he patted Hu Guoqi's shoulder and said, "Sure enough, don't be nervous. This is Sun Zifen, a very good classmate of mine. He is very easygoing." Iron Egg is right. I like to make friends the most. Sure enough, it is nice to meet you for the first time. When Sun Zifen heard that Hu Guoqi had some contact with Lisa Xuan, he couldn't help but feel a sense of familiarity, so he took the initiative to greet Hu Guoqi. Hu Guoqi was a little at a loss and scratched his head. After a long while, he stuttered Brother Ziffin, the academy you built, the academy is really beautiful. His stuttering had been cured long ago, but the habit of speaking over the years made him unable to help but stutter whenever he was nervous. Son Ziffin didn't care about this, because Hu Guichi's last sentence made him feel a little smug. Huh, sure enough, you have a good eye. If you can pass the entrance exam to Yanhuang College this time, then I, Son Ziffin, will protect you in the future. If anyone dares to bully you, just use my name. Iron Egg's eyebrows twitched as he listened. What did he mean by sure enough, you have a good eye? Son Ziffin's words were getting more and more ridiculous. He couldn't help but criticize him in his heart. Hu Guichi liked to be praised the most. Son Ziffin's unintentional words made him feel that this person in front of him was quite easy to get along with. So he scratched his head and smiled. Hey, thank you, Brother Ziffin. Iron Egg rolled his eyes and was speechless as he looked at the two people who he had never met before chatting so enthusiastically. Yamacho, as of now, there are nearly 800 candidates who have received the exam number plates, and there are still a large number of candidates lining up in front of the academy. Therefore, a conservative estimate is that there will be at least 2,000 candidates taking the entrance exam this year. I'm afraid that such a grand occasion can't even be compared to the imperial examination. On the 10th floor of the Guanghua building, in the principal's office, Yen Silu excitedly reported to Li Zixuan. At first, he agreed to join Yanhuang College only because of Li Gang's invitation and Li Zixuan's school philosophy. In fact, he himself was not optimistic about Yanhuang College's situation in the first few years. He never expected such a grand occasion to happen today, which made him very excited. Li Zixuan stood in front of the bed and looked down at the bustling students at the entrance of the academy. The imperial examination and Yanhuang College's exam are two different things. There is nothing to compare. In the future, most of the students from Yanhuang College will take the imperial examination. To some extent, we are like the imperial college, cultivating talents for the Tang Empire. But since they have chosen Yanhuang College, we have to teach them something different. Rigorous scholarship is the foundation of Yanhuang College. We don't have to compare with others. Chapter 658. Yamacho is right. I didn't expect someone of my age to be obsessed with looks. I'm ashamed of myself. After hearing Li Zixuan's plain words, Yen Silu felt both ashamed and ashamed. He cupped his hands and said, "Thank you for your generosity." Li Zixuan shook his head and said meaningfully, Sir, you're exaggerating. I'm not saying that Yanhuang College can't compete. We don't have to compete for things like the number of students, but we have to compete for academics. Since we've chosen academics, we only need to care about academics. In the future, Yanhuang College will be the holy land of Tang Empire. Yen Silu pondered for a moment and understood the meaning behind Li Zixuan's words. He praised, Yamacho is right. Knowing when to advance and when to retreat is the way to survive for Yanhuang College. Li Zixuan smiled and didn't say anything. He thought that Yen Silu's perception was quite high. After a while, he suddenly remembered something and asked, Mr. Yen, did the palace send the plaque to the college? If he remembered correctly, Li Er had promised to personally write the plaque for Yanhuang College. However, when he came to the college this morning, he didn't see the plaque at the entrance. How could this be? Tomorrow, Yanhuang College would have its entrance exam. Yen Silu was stunned and wondered, why would the palace send us a plaque? This old man saw that the college didn't have a plaque, so I thought that Yamacho had his own plans. Li Zixuan almost vomited blood. What plans did he have? If Li Er wanted to write the plaque for the college, would he dare to ask someone else to write it for him? Even if he dared to ask, would anyone else dare to write it for him? Other than waiting for Li Er to send the plaque over, there was nothing he could do. Okay, Mr. Yin, you go ahead and do your work. I have my own plans for the plaque. Li Zixuan rubbed his eyebrows and said helplessly. He couldn't tell Yen Silu that he was stood up by Li Er, right? If that happened, Li Er would definitely mess with him. Although Yen Silu guessed that there was more to this, since Li Zixuan didn't want to talk about it, he didn't want to ask, so he cupped his hands and left. Li Zixuan stood alone in front of the large glass wall of the office. looking down at the examinees who were lining up and discussing with each other. He thought gloomily, did old Lee forget about the signboard? Then how should I remind him? What a pain in the ass. Eh, isn't that Li Tai? That's right. I'll let this little fatty do it. At that time, even if old Lee gets angry, he won't be able to vent his anger on me, right? Li Tai, who was chatting and laughing with Meng Wenhao, Sun Zifan, and the others, did not realize that he had been given the title of a scapegoat. In the morning, almost all the 44 students from the School of Mathematics came to the Yanwang Academy to collect their exam number plates. After collecting their number plates, they sat on the grass beside them and started chatting. It was very lively. When the surrounding candidates found out that they used to be students of the School of Mathematics, they naturally couldn't help but feel envious. After all, those who were slightly more informed knew that the School of Mathematics was personally taught by Li Zishuan. At this moment, Sun Zifan glanced at the many classmates around him and laughed happily. I'm sorry. TSK. Who else is missing from the School of Mathematics? Are they all here? A few students heard him and started counting. After a while, someone said, we're still missing one person. Why are there only 43 people? I remember that there are 44 students in the School of Mathematics and Mathematics. Yes, we're indeed missing one. Another voice echoed. Sun Zifan frowned and said, who else is missing? As Mr. Lee's students, even Qin K came in person on such an important day. Why is there someone else missing? Qin Huayu rubbed his eyebrows and said, cough, cough. Shimo didn't come. He's reviewing his homework now, so he asked me to help him get his number plate. Everyone, please don't blame him for this. Li Huiren shouted, wow, how can this be? Chonyo is working so hard. It seems that I'm in danger this time. Everyone, I'm here today, so I have to go back and review my homework now. See you in the examination room tomorrow. After saying that, he didn't care about the stunned eyes of the crowd and ran away like a wisp of smoke. Among the final 44 students of the School of Mathematics, he studied in the School of Mathematics for the shortest time. Strictly speaking, he and Cheng Chumo were about the same in terms of mathematics. Therefore, when he heard that Cheng Chumo was working so hard, Li Huiren suddenly felt a strong sense of crisis in his heart. For him, it was not terrible to do badly. What was terrible was to be in the last place. That would be fatal, because counting the days, his father, Li Shaogong, would be back soon. If he really dared to be in the last place at this juncture, the consequences were simply unimaginable. F***CK. These two cowards are really the shame of our School of Mathematics. Sun Zifan pointed in the direction where Li Huiren disappeared and complained to the classmates next to him. Yes, that's right. Everyone agreed one after another. Unexpectedly, Sun Zifan's next sentence was, cough. That little brother has some urgent matters at home, so he has to go first. Everyone, and little brother who, I'll see you in the examination room tomorrow. After that, this fellow was afraid of being stopped and ran away. After all, his results were not that good. The other examinees thought that as Li Zishuan's former students, they would have a great advantage. However, Li Zishuan had only taught in the School of Mathematics for less than 2 months. Moreover, the students of the School of Mathematics had participated in the construction of Yanhuang College during the field break. In total, they did not have much time to revise. Everyone was stunned for a moment. Then, they got up one after another and cursed in the direction where Sun Zifan escaped. Bah, Sun Zifan, you're a coward who's worse than what you look like. Shameless. I, Wang Meng, have never seen such a shameless person. Everyone, please wait here for a moment. I'll go and catch that bastard Sun Zifan. F***CK. Wang Meng, you. Facts had proven that the former underachievers of the School of Mathematics were generally more timid. After knowing what Cheng Chumo had done, they all slipped away and planned to do last-minute cramming. Li Tai saw that half of the people around him had disappeared in an instant. He said resentfully, a bunch of cowards. What a disgrace. Your Highness Prince Wei, Yamacho invites you to go to his place. At this moment, Emo Zhong came from afar and cupped his hands carefully. Oh, why did Xiaoxian call me? Li Tai muttered softly and then flicked his sleeves. Okay, I got it. I'll go now. Chapter 659. Humph. Xiao Xian, you're looking for me? Li Tai spent a tremendous amount of effort and finally climbed to the 10th floor of the Guanghua Building's twin towers. He then came to Li Zishuan's office and asked while panting. He had been to Li Zishuan's office once before, so he didn't make a big fuss. Instead, he was cursing Li Zishuan in his heart. Was there something wrong with his brain? Why did he have to choose this office? It was such a F***king trap. Li Tai felt that he almost lost half his life after coming up here. Sigh. It couldn't be helped. Who asked him to be so fat? Although Li Zishuan had become Yanhuan College's Yamacho, and Li Gang, Yin Silu, and the others of the older generation had changed to calling him Yamacho, Li Tai, Chung Chumo, and the others who were close friends with Li Zishuan still called Li Zishuan by his name in private. Shinke, do you have to go this far? The last time you came in my office, you were also like this. In my opinion, you need to lose some weight. Li Zishuan wanted to get straight to the point, but when he saw Li Tai looking like he would collapse at any moment, he couldn't help but speak out of turn. After all, Li Tai was really too fat. In the long run, there would definitely be problems. Only he dared to say this. If it was someone else, Li Tai would definitely flip out. Li Tai panted for a while, then gulped down a cup of tea and said, It wasn't easy for me to get this fat. Why should I lose weight? Besides, it's so hard to lose weight. I can't stand it. This reason was so strong. Li Zishuan was instantly speechless. After pausing for a while, he said somewhat maliciously, Hey, since you don't want to reduce it, there will be someone willing to help you in a few days. Li Tai immediately sensed danger. He widened his eyes and pointed at Li Zishuan. Damn, little Xian, I've always treated you well. If you need help, I'll help you without asking for anything in return. What do you mean by this? Tell me, what are you plotting? Li Zishuan said unhappily. Qingke, why are you so agitated? I'm not going to cut off your flesh. Look at how scared you are. Li Tai said angrily. Who knows what kind of evil ideas you have in mind? Who will be able to stand it if you deliberately set people up? In the end, the little fatty suddenly reacted and said, Oh right, when I helped you complete the geography textbook, you promised me that I could take 3 days off in the first month of school. Does that still count? Li Zishuan thought about it. 3 days was 3 days. The military training lasted for a month. What was the harm in letting this kid off for 3 days? So he nodded and said, Of course it counts. Li Tai was instantly relieved and said happily, That's good. That's good. Then he returned to the topic and asked, Little Xian, why are you looking for me today? Li Zishuan sighed and pointed at Yanhuan College's gate downstairs. It's about the Academy's plaque. Previously, His Majesty said that he would personally inscribe the plaque for Yanhuan College. Perhaps because it was a long time ago and His Majesty was usually very busy, he forgot about this matter. I want you to help remind His Majesty. After all, Yanhuan College is about to start. Li Tai couldn't help but be stunned. It was the first time he heard that his father would go back on his word. He smacked his lips and was about to agree when he suddenly rolled his eyes, crossed his arms, and said calmly, So that's how it is. I can help you, but little Xian, shouldn't you also give me something? Li Zishuan was confused and said, What do I have to give you? I'll give you a string of money. F***ck. Li Tai was so angry that he couldn't help but curse. Li Zishuan didn't lack money, but Li Tai didn't lack money now either. I don't want your money. I want to say that I'll help you get the plaque for the academy. When school starts, you'll give me 3 days off? How about that? This time it was Li Zishuan's turn to be angry. His old face darkened, and he said, You wish, kid. You'll also be a student of the academy in the future. You have a part in the academy's affairs. If you can't get the plaque done this time, do you believe that I won't cancel your previous 3 days of leave? Faced with this almost shameless method, Li Tai was immediately dumbfounded. He said in a flustered and exasperated manner, You, as a Yamacho of Yanhuan College, how can you do something so untrustworthy? Li Zishuan immediately retorted, Then, as a member of Yanhuan College, how can you not have a sense of collective responsibility? Li Tai was speechless. After a while, he said hatefully, Fine. Very good. You win. After saying that, The little fatty's face darkened, and he left the principal's office. Li Zixuan looked at his back and said to himself, "Hey, this little fatty always likes to think of ways to take advantage of loopholes. However, it won't be long before you'll thank me for my persistence today. Your Majesty, the Prince of Wei requests an audience." In Ganlu Hall, after the morning court, Li Er didn't hurry to read the memorials. Instead, he came here on a whim to practice calligraphy. Just as he was in a trance, the chamberlain suddenly came in and whispered, "Announce!" Li Er didn't even raise his head and spat out a word from his mouth. "Your son greets Imperial Father." In a flash, Li Tai came in from outside the hall and bowed to Li Er. Didn't Qingke go to Yanhuang College in the morning? Why are you back so soon?" Under normal circumstances, when Li Er was practicing calligraphy, he hated being disturbed by others the most. But today, the person who disturbed him was Li Tai, so the result was naturally different. He loved his son, Li Tai, very much. So, at this moment, he was earnestly copying calligraphy as he spoke to Li Tai. "Imperial Father, I came back after catching up with my classmates. Imperial Father is in a good mood today. Are you copying Wang Youjuan's calligraphy again?" Li Tai didn't know how to tell Li Er about the plaque of the Yanhuang Academy, but when he saw that Li Er was practicing calligraphy, he suddenly had a good idea. He took a step forward and whispered to Li Er, "Brother Li Er, I'll tell you about it. Qingke, come and take a look at Imperial Father's calligraphy. How is it?" Coincidentally, at this moment, Li Er finished the last stroke. He put the pen aside and let out a long sigh of relief. Then he smiled at Li Tai. At this moment, he naturally didn't know that Li Tai was harboring evil intentions. "Yes, Imperial Father." Li Tai took small steps and came to the side of the desk. He looked at the calligraphy seriously from beginning to end for a long time. Then he saw his body trembling with excitement and said, "Looking at the exquisite workmanship of this calligraphy, the method is pure and beautiful, comparable to Wang Youjuan's. Your son congratulates Imperial Father on improving his calligraphy." Chapter 660. Qingke, you've learned how to flatter people too? Within the Sweet Dew Hall, Li Er pointed at Li Tai and reprimanded him with a stern face. However, if one looked closely, they would be able to see a smile on Li Er's face. Obviously, he was not really angry. Li Tai hurriedly bowed and said, "I'm afraid everything I said just now was from the bottom of my heart. Even if you, Xiaojian, were to personally appraise it, he would still be full of praise for Father's calligraphy." The Yu Xiaojian he was referring to was the secretary Yu Shurinan, one of the 4 famous calligraphers of the early Tang Dynasty. Li Er did not deny it and said casually, "Oh, is that so?" After spending so much time with Li Zixuan, Li Tai had also become an actor. He said with a sincere face, he said sincerely, "I've been copying Wang Youjuan's calligraphy for a year, but I've never been able to find the right path. Today, when I saw Father's calligraphy, I suddenly felt enlightened. I sincerely hope that Father can give this calligraphy to me. After I study it carefully, I might be able to catch a glimpse of the master of calligraphy's charm." This was a blatant bootlicking, but Li Er liked it. In fact, during the 300 years from the Eastern Jin Dynasty to the Tang Dynasty, Li Er could be considered as Wang Shiji's #1 fan. According to the Tang Dynasty's Su family law book, Emperor Taizong left behind a special reward for Yu Youjuan's calligraphy. When Jingguan first issued an imperial order to purchase it, it was all lost. In other words, as soon as Li Shimin became the emperor, he could not wait to spend money on his idol and swore to buy all of Wang Shiji's works. The effect of the emperor's imperial order was great. According to the Su Shu Lu, Li Er collected more than 3,000 pieces of Wang Shiji's calligraphy and bound them into a scroll with the word Jingguan printed on it. However, Li Er, who was a fan of endless idols, said that this was not enough. He wanted to personally cheer for his idol. The Book of Jin, one of the 24 history books, was written in the 22nd year of Jingguan. In the book, there were 4 historical commentaries written by Li Shimin himself. One of them was the biography of Wang Shiji. In the historical commentary, Li Er commented on Zhongyao, Wang Xinji, Wang Shiji's seventh son, and the other calligraphers one by one, and found a lot of problems with each of them. Then he directly said, looking carefully at the past and present, studying the fine seal, the plain, and the perfect, only Wang Yi is lacking. The rest are trivial. What's there to talk about? In order to highlight the perfection of her idol, she did not hesitate to belittle others. This included her idol's son. Li Shimon's craziness when he chased after a celebrity was comparable to the modern fangirls of some young male idols. However, Li Er was the emperor after all. He still had a sense of perspective. While he chased after celebrities, he did not forget to improve his calligraphy skills. It was said that every time he obtained an authentic work of Wang Shiji, Li Er would order people to hang it in his bedroom so that he could view and copy it every day. Moreover, not only did he copy it, but his sons also had to copy it hundreds of times. It was not a few times, nor was it dozens of times, but hundreds of times. However, Li Tai still had a certain talent in calligraphy. Although Li Tai's remarks just now were a bit exaggerated, there was no doubt about the excellence of this copybook. For Li Er, after copying his idol's work for so long, he finally received such a sincere praise. Moreover, his behavior could be considered as a disguised form of motivating Li Tai to learn from his idol. Of course, he was overjoyed in his heart. However, he was still reserved and did not show it. Instead, he said with an indifferent expression, "Hee, since you like it, Chinke, then I'll give this calligraphy to you. Remember to practice more diligently." Imperial Father looks forward to the day when you can catch a glimpse of 70% of the charm of Wang Youjuan's running calligraphy. Li Tai was flattered and bowed. This son thanks Imperial Father for the gift and will remember Imperial Father's teachings. I will definitely practice diligently every day. Li Er nodded with satisfaction and then asked, "Chinke, you're looking for Imperial Father today, right?" Li Tai's thoughts turned quickly. He stepped forward and cupped his hands. This son originally came to pay respects to Imperial Father, but seeing that Imperial Father's running calligraphy has reached such great success, I have a presumptuous request in my heart. "Oh? What request do you have, Chinke? Tell Imperial Father." Li Er sat upright on the dragon couch, took a sip of tea, and asked curiously. Li Tai took a deep breath and replied, "Imperial Father, it's like this. Yanhuang College is about to start school, but the college has not hung a signboard until now. This son saw Imperial Father's running calligraphy just now. It was simply like the authentic work of a calligraphy master. Therefore, this son boldly asks Imperial Father to bestow a signboard to Yanhuang College." Silence. As soon as Li Tai's voice fell, the main hall suddenly fell into a strange silence. Li Er didn't say a word. His action of holding the teacup also froze in the air, and the scene seemed to be frozen there. In fact, Li Er's heart was not calm at all, because Li Tai's words made him suddenly recall something. 3 months ago, the 8 professors of the Imperial College, led by Cui Shanyu, jointly impeached Li Zishuan for corrupting the academic atmosphere, disrupting the teaching order of the Imperial College, and privately teaching miscellaneous studies. When Li Zishuan heard the news, he used a Tang daily to punish Cui Shanyu and the others. Then, he angrily resigned and wanted to go back home to teach. At that time, Li Zishuan was attracted by the engineering prospect described by Li Zishuan, so he agreed on the spot that after Yanhuang College was completed, he would personally inscribe a signboard for Yanhuang College. However, after such a long time, during which Li Zishuan was assassinated, the 7 cultivators sect was destroyed, the Cui family was involved, and then there were constant storms in Chang'an City. By the time Yanhuang College was completed, Li Er had already forgotten about his promise to inscribe a signboard. Now, Li Tai suddenly mentioned this matter in front of him. Was it intentional? Or was it unintentional? After pondering for a long time, Li Er finally returned to normal. He put down the teacup, looked at Li Tai, and nodded. "Good. This emperor will inscribe a signboard for Yanhuang College." Whether Li Tai did it intentionally or not, since he didn't take the initiative to point it out, Li Er didn't need to take the initiative to mention what happened 3 months ago. After all, as a father, he still needed to maintain a bit of dignity in front of his children. This son thanks father. Of course, the little fatty mentioned it intentionally, but his acting skills were pretty good. For a moment, Lier couldn't tell whether it was real or fake. Lier came to the dragon desk. Li Tai eagerly spread out the rice paper for Lier and began to grind it on the side, looking like a lackey. Lier closed his eyes and concentrated for a moment. Then, he suddenly opened his eyes and decisively started to write. The tip of the brush was like the tip of a sword, and the rice paper was like a battlefield. The brush moved like dragons and snakes, majestic and majestic. After a while, the words Yanhuang College appeared on the paper. All right, Chinke, you can take it. This emperor is going to eat at your mother's place. Lier waved his hand and walked out of the palace alone, leaving Li Tai alone here. Chapter 661. Could it be that father saw through it? Wouldn't that be self-defeating? Not good, not good, this time at a big loss. I was F** King tricked by Xiao Xin again. F** CK. Li Tai held Lier's calligraphy as he walked on the palace road. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that something was wrong. He felt that Lier must have seen through something, otherwise his attitude wouldn't be so different. After realizing this, he couldn't help but curse Li Zishuan in his heart. He knew that this kind of thing wasn't easy to do, but he still insisted on letting him do it. He was simply deliberately tricking him. After lunch, Li Tai personally went to Yanhuang College and gave the calligraphy to Li Zishuan. Li Tai, who felt that he had sacrificed a lot, naturally asked Li Zishuan to compensate him in other aspects, such as holidays and so on. When Li Zishuan heard the cause and effect, he naturally scoffed at the little fatty's excuse. With how much Lier doted on Li Tai, he didn't believe that Lier would blame the little fatty for such a small matter. This was because Lier was usually quite magnanimous. Under his insistence, he naturally didn't agree to the humiliating terms that Li Tai proposed. Li Tai had no choice but to leave. Hey, this little fatty is really... Li Zishuan muttered to himself. Then, he was attracted by the 4 large words, Yanhuang College, written in bold calligraphy. Although he didn't understand calligraphy, he could see a trace of sharpness from these words. Compared to the words that Chu Suiliang had inscribed on the signboard of Chitu Pavilion, these 4 words were more natural and more soul-stirring. Good calligraphy. Li Zishuan praised from the bottom of his heart. Perhaps he had asked Lier to inscribe these words to give Yanhuang College an extra layer of protection. But now it seemed that the calligraphy level of these 4 words alone was enough to serve as the signboard of Yanhuang College. Mo Yun, send this calligraphy to Pang Feiji downstairs and ask him to send it to the workshop quickly. Tell the workshop to make the signboard of the college before the day after tomorrow. Li Zishuan took the calligraphy and handed it to Mo Yun as he ordered. Yes, Yamacho. Mo Yun took the calligraphy and turned to leave in a very capable manner. There were a total of 11 followers of the school of Mo in the Mo family who majored in martial arts. Among them, Mo Zhong and Mo Yun's realm was the highest, both in the late stage of qi refining. Most of the rest were in the early or middle stage of qi refining. These people together could be considered a very powerful force. Therefore, the security of the college was mainly in charge of this team of followers of the School of Mo. The team of guards led by Pang Feiji was mainly responsible for the safety of Li Zishuan's family. Because there were too many candidates coming to Yinshan today, Brother Chicken had specially brought people to help maintain order. After Mo Yun left, Li Zishuan got up and walked to the glass wall. He lowered his head to look at the situation below. Mo Zhong saw this behind him and couldn't help but wipe the cold sweat on his forehead. He had been in this office for a few days, but he didn't dare to stand by the glass wall and look down like Li Zishuan. This position was really too high. Even a qi refining master would fall to his death. Mo Zhong informed Li Gang, Yin Silu, and the leaders of the various departments of the college to meet in the conference room in 2 hours. Li Zishuan saw that the crowd below was not as big as it was in the morning, and it seemed to be decreasing. He knew that almost all the candidates who wanted to take the exam had come, so he turned around and gave the order. Yes, Yamacho. And Mo Zhong cupped his hands in salute and left as well. At this time, Li Zixuan couldn't help but think of Di Zhishuan's figure. He had spent 90% of his time in this office today, and he often looked down from time to time. He saw many familiar figures, but he didn't see Di Zhishuan. Maybe I missed him. Li Zixuan shook his head. There were so many candidates today. No matter how good his eyesight was, it was impossible for him to see all of them. 2 hours later, in the conference room of Guanghua Building. Today, thousands of candidates came to the college. Thanks to everyone's coordination, we were able to keep things in order without any trouble. Thank you for your hard work. Li Zixuan saw that everyone was present, so he stood up and said politely, Haha, it's not hard at all. It's what we should do. Everyone cupped their hands and said modestly. Only Wang Ji sat there awkwardly. He drank a little when he came this morning, and Li Gang was afraid that his drunken appearance would affect the image of the college among the students, so he let him go back first. Among everyone present, he was the only one who didn't help much. Well, Mr. Yin, can you count the number of students who came to pick up their exam number plates today? Li Zixuan looked at Yin Silu and asked. Yin Silu was already prepared. He looked at the booklet beside him, then stood up and said, It's unlikely that there will be many candidates today. I don't think there will be many examinees here at this time. Let me tell you the statistics before I came to this room. According to the data submitted by the teachers in charge today, there are a total of 2,118 examinees who came to collect their number plates. Compared to the final number of people who signed up according to the Tang Daily, 3,890 examinees. The reference rate for this entrance exam is much higher than the previous estimate. Li Zixuan nodded solemnly and said, Everyone must have heard that since so many candidates came to pick up their exam number plates today, it means that the number of students who will be taking the exam tomorrow will be roughly the same number. With so many students taking the exam, it means that there are also many students who are optimistic about the future of Yinhuan College. This is something to be happy about. At the same time, we must be aware of the heavy responsibility on our shoulders. We can't let down those who trust us. Therefore, the Academy will increase the invigilation efforts tomorrow. The leaders of each department must clearly instruct the invigilators under them to correct their invigilation attitude. They must not be absent-minded during the invigilation period, and they must have zero tolerance for cheating. During the exam in the morning and afternoon, I will personally go to each examination hall to inspect. If any cheating is found in any examination hall without the invigilator noticing, a demerit will be recorded. At the same time, the corresponding department leader will be held responsible. I need to remind everyone that these demerits will affect the evaluation of teachers' titles at the end of the academic year. Please pay attention to it. In this exam, we must let all the candidates feel fair and just. If we can't even do this, then there's no need for Yinhuan College to continue existing. Everyone, do you understand? Hearing Li Zixuan speak so solemnly, the expressions of everyone in the room gradually became serious. At this moment, they all replied in unison, Understood. Chapter 662. Yinhuan College's exam was divided into two parts. In the morning, it was a combined exam for classics and morality. In the afternoon, it was a single subject exam for mathematics. The duration of the exam was 4 hours. The questions for the classic section were set by Li Gang and Li Zixuan. Li Zixuan had repeatedly instructed them to lower the difficulty and not set any tricky questions. Of course, the two old men were unwilling at first, but Li Zixuan kept persuading them, so they could only agree in the end. The questions for the morality and mathematics section were, of course, set by Li Zixuan himself. He had already given out the test papers 5 days ago. After the printing, all the test papers were guarded by Wu Ho 24 hours a day in the workshop. There was no way that the questions would be leaked in advance. Now, everything was ready. All that was left was the east wind. The next day, when Chang and city's east gate opened, thousands of examinees who had been waiting at the city gate for a long time filed out. They carried their test boxes, the school bags used by the ancient people, and walked in groups of 3 to 5 toward Yinhuan College. Of course, some examinees from rich families rode horses and carriages. Some examinees were accompanied by their relatives. In order to make it in time for Yinhuang College's exam, all the examinees gathered here. In an instant, the streets near the east gate became unusually congested. Chang and City's Wuho was also on guard. Yuqi Jingde didn't even attend the morning court and personally commanded. Most of the Wuho Mansion were transferred here to ease the congestion. Sigh, I didn't expect there to be so many students. Little Xian's Yinhuang College is quite successful. My Baolin should be able to get in, right? Yuqi Jingde was dressed in martial attire and stood on a nearby tower. Looking at the dense crowd below, he was both melancholy and happy. D Mansion backyard. Bang, bang. Young master, you should get up and have breakfast. Butler Zhong gently knocked on the door and shouted inside. A moment later, a voice came from inside. Uncle Zhong, I'm not eating. Being locked up in the residence every day is like being in jail. How can I have the mood to eat? Hearing this, Butler Zhong hurriedly knocked on the door again and said, Little young master, you didn't eat last night. Master is very angry. When he left this morning, he specifically told this old man to let you eat some rice no matter what. Please don't make things difficult for this old man, and don't starve your body. In the room, Di Jishuan's voice sounded a little impatient. He said, Uncle Zhong, don't try to persuade me. I'm really not hungry. Please don't bother me. Let me sleep for a while. Since I can't get out, are you not going to let me sleep? Hearing this obviously childish words, Butler Zhong sighed helplessly. Young master, this old man also wants you to leave, but no one dares to disobey master's orders. Besides, you can leave the residence as you wish tomorrow. Come out and eat something. Uncle Zhong, you know what I'm thinking. What's the use of me going out tomorrow? Take it away quickly. I won't eat it. Also, ask all the servants in the backyard to leave. Don't disturb my sleep. Otherwise, if I really make a scene, no one will have a good time. Hearing the extremely impatient tone in Di Jishuan's voice, Butler Zhong hurriedly said, Okay. This old man will leave now. Ask him to leave too. Young master, if you're hungry, call me at any time. After that, the old butler quickly left with the food box. This was because he knew that Di Jishuan was right. If he really made a scene, everyone in the residence would suffer. As long as Di Jishuan could be quiet and everyone was safe and sound, Butler Zhong would be satisfied. Hey, these people are finally all gone. In the room, Di Jishuan muttered excitedly as he watched Butler Zhong instruct all the servants to leave the backyard through the crack of the door. Looking at this guy's dressing, all his clothes were neat and tidy. He didn't look like someone who had just woken up. Obviously, what he said just now was all a lie. Alas, this is my last chance. Ancestors of the Di family, please bless me, Di Jishuan. Di Jishuan clasped his hands together and muttered a few words softly. Then, he turned around, took a bundle from the table, and left the room. When he arrived at the courtyard, he walked straight to the northwest corner. There was a huge rock that was half the height of a person there. Di Jishuan looked around worriedly. When he saw that there was no one around, he heaved a sigh of relief and muttered to himself, Hey, fortunately, no one noticed that there was an extra rock here. Otherwise, if they reported it to my father, the old man would be suspicious again. Shaking his head, Di Jishuan leaped onto the huge rock. Then, he used all his strength to finally climb up the wall. Looking at the bluestone floor outside the wall, Di Jishuan gritted his teeth and jumped down. Ouch! 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 The Di family's wall was almost 10 feet high. It would be strange if Di Jishuan didn't get hurt when he jumped down like that. Di Jishuan hugged his right foot. His eyes and eyebrows were in pain. He sucked in cold air as he pressed on his right ankle. Ouch! This won't do. There's not much time left. I have to go to Yinhuang College as soon as possible. Otherwise, this jump will be in vain. Thinking of this, Di Jishuan endured the pain and stood up. Then, he limped toward the gate. Hey. The big brother in front, wait up. The more Di Jishuan walked, the more difficult it was for him to walk. The piercing pain in his ankle made him sweat all over. Just when he was about to give up, he saw a middle-aged man driving a flatbed cart pass by him. His heart stirred, and he hurriedly yelled out, "Hey, hey! Young master, are you calling me?" The middle-aged man heard him and hurriedly reined in the old horse that was pulling the cart. He turned around and asked. Di Jixuan used the last bit of his strength to catch up with the middle-aged man. He took out a golden leaf and said, "Big brother, I accidentally hurt my foot just now. Now, I have something urgent to do. Can you sell this horse to me? The price is negotiable." At this time, he obviously didn't care about whether it was worth it or not. He could only get to Yanhuang College in time if he had a horse to ride. As for money, his family wasn't that short of money. Young master, you can't do that. This horse is an old one. It's specially used to pull goods. It's not worth much. Young master, your foot injury is so serious. Even if you ride a horse, it won't be easy. Why don't you tell me where you want to go? I'll drive you there." The middle-aged man saw the golden leaf shining in Di Jixuan's hand and quickly waved his hand. Di Jixuan didn't expect the man in front of him to be so straightforward. He smiled and said, "Then I'll have to trouble you, big brother. If you send me to Yanhuang College outside the city, I'll definitely thank you." Chapter 663. At the academy, all the teachers were already on standby at dawn. Li Zixuan didn't return to Chang last night. Instead, he stayed in Yunshan's courtyard. Early in the morning, he left his wife's warmth and came to Yanhuang College. In fact, the teachers of the academy were almost ready. However, Li Zixuan was afraid that something they couldn't handle would happen, so he came so early. Seeing that it was still early, Li Zixuan invited Yin Silu, Li Gang, and Mo Huai to have breakfast together in the academy's cafeteria. As for Wang Ji, the old man had just moved his luggage from his brother's house to the academy after the meeting yesterday afternoon. He was sleeping in the dormitory now. As early as 2 days ago, the academy's cafeteria had officially started operating. The chefs that were invited had all been trained by the Drunken Immortal House, so their skills were naturally excellent. Moreover, the style of cooking had also been greatly influenced by Li Zixuan. The four of them sat together and ate breakfast, steamed buns, porridge, and salted vegetables. Li Zixuan asked at this time, "Mr. Yin, have the test papers been transported here?" Yin Silu replied, "Yes. The Marquis escorted them here overnight. They are now locked in the Academy's secret room. That place uses the Mo family's Tianji lock. Only Mr. Mo has the key to open it." Li Zixuan was relieved when he heard this. Then he asked again, "Then, have the invigilators been assigned to each examination room?" Yin Silu nodded and said, "Yes, everything has been assigned. There are a total of 52 examination rooms, and there will be invigilators in each examination room," Li Zixuan said with a smile. Fortunately, the academy was built on a large scale. Otherwise, our academy wouldn't be able to bear this examination alone. Li Gang slurped 2 mouthfuls of porridge and said with a smile, "Only you have the guts to build an academy on such a large scale for the first time. Judging from the current size of the academy, it won't be enough even if more than 2,000 examinees are admitted." Li Zixuan shook his head and said, "You can't say that. Yanhuang College's students study for at least 3 years, and the longest is 6 years. There will be students from other grades after that. How can you recruit so many people at once?" Li Gang suddenly understood and said, "Yo, that's true. Haha. Speaking of which, the food in this academy is really unique. This old man may have to eat and drink here in the future." This Yin wholeheartedly agrees with Brother Li's words. Yes, the food of the academy is indeed delicious. Yin Silu and Mo Huai agreed in agreement. Li Zixuan laughed and said, "If the 3 of you like it, you can eat it at Yanhuang College for the rest of your lives." That's exactly what I was thinking. At 6:30 a.m., the first batch of examinees arrived at Yanhuang College. However, there was still more than an hour before the start of the exam, so they naturally couldn't enter the academy. They could only sit on the grass in front of the academy and wait for the academy to let the examinees in. Hugua Iron Egg, what a coincidence to meet the 2 of you again. As time passed, more and more students arrived at the academy. Sun Ziffin had just arrived and saw two familiar figures sitting on the grass in front of him. He quickly went forward and greeted them. "Hello, Brother Ziffin," Hugh was said with a smile. Hee. Looks like Ziffin's expression means that he's determined to pass this exam, right? Iron Egg joked with a smile. Sun Ziffin's face turned red. He liked to show off in front of strangers, but in front of a friend like Iron Egg, he didn't need to show off. He said unhappily, "No matter how determined I am, can I be more determined than Iron Egg? You're Mr. Lee's core disciple." Speaking of this, he suddenly leaned in front of Iron Egg, then lowered his voice and said, "Iron Egg, tell me honestly, did Mr. Lee leak a few exam questions to you? With our relationship, you have to take care of me." Iron Egg didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He took 2 steps back to keep a distance from Sun Ziffin and said, "Brother Ziffin, don't talk nonsense. Master is definitely not the kind of person you said he was. Besides, I've been busy with martial arts recently and haven't spent much time on my studies." Sun Ziffin widened his eyes and said in surprise, Iron Egg, you actually know martial arts. That's amazing. In the future, if I'm bullied at the academy, you have to help me." On the side, who scratched his head in puzzlement and thought, Brother Ziffin clearly said he would protect me yesterday. Why is he asking Iron Egg now? Doesn't this mean that Iron Egg is even more powerful? Seeing that Sun Ziffin was actually so shameless, Iron Egg could only wave his hand and say, "As classmates, of course we have to take care of each other. Brother Ziffin, don't worry." Sun Ziffin laughed and said, "Haha, good. You're so straightforward. Chung Chumo, you're finally here. You didn't handle the matter yesterday too well. You made so many of your classmates wait for you." At 7:30 in the morning, Yin Silla looked at the sky and then said to Lisa Xuan, "Yamacho, it's almost time." Lisa Xuan nodded and said, "That's good." Mo Zhong and Mo Yun opened the door and welcomed the candidates. The two cupped their hands and went to open the door of the academy. It's open, let's go in." "It's finally open." Chuamo, let's go. We're all in the 7th examination hall. I guess you don't know where it is? It's okay, I'll take you there. But after the exam, you have to treat me to a big meal." Chung Chumo, when the candidates entered the academy, they didn't have to go through an extremely detailed body search like the imperial examination. Firstly, it wasn't necessary, and secondly, there were too many candidates. During the imperial examination, everyone would have a special examination booth, which gave the candidates a lot of room to cheat. However, Yinhuang College was different. With more than 50 people in one examination hall, everything in the hall was clear at a glance. If anyone cheated, the teachers above would immediately notice. Half an hour later, all the candidates gathered outside the academy entered Yinhuang College and found their examination hall. Lisa Xuan thought for a while and said, "It's time for the exam. Close the door." Mo Zhong and Mo Yin quickly did as they were told. The doors of the academy slowly began to close, which meant that the exam had officially begun. "Hey, wait. There's one more. Lisa Xuan couldn't help but look in the direction of the voice and saw that the person who spoke was Di Zhixuan, whom he hadn't seen for a long time. Chapter 664. Ouch. Don't close the door, let me in. I'm also here to take the exam. The middle-aged man who pulled Di Zhixuan to Yinshan in a handcart was kind enough to send Di Zhixuan directly to the top of Yinshan. Unexpectedly, Yinhuang College was about to close the door, so Di Zhixuan hurriedly jumped off the cart and shouted. However, his right foot couldn't bear such an impact. He immediately screamed, but he didn't forget to shout in the direction of the gate of the college. "Hey, little Lang Jun, be careful. Let me help you over." Perhaps after seeing that Di Zhixuan was really a candidate, the middle-aged man's attitude became more respectful. Seeing that Di Zhixuan was a little unstable, he quickly put down the reins and came over to support him. "Thank you, Brother Han." On the way here, Di Zhixuan had already learned about the middle-aged man. His surname was Han, and because he was the 7th child in his family, others often called him Han Laochi. Di Zhixuan thanked him in a low voice, then looked firmly at the gate of the college and continued to walk there. Mo Zhong and Mo Yun also noticed Di Zhishuan, but after going through so many things, they now obeyed Li Zishuan. Therefore, Mo Zhong stepped forward and said loudly, Yanhuang College's exam has begun. Little Lang Jun, you're late. Please go back. Hey, don't. It wasn't easy for me to sneak out of my house. Besides, the exam hasn't officially started yet, right? Brother, please let me in. Di Zhishuan came closer and said hurriedly. Suddenly, he saw Li Zishuan behind the gate and immediately shouted excitedly, Hey, little Lang Jun, it's me. It's me. Do you know this big brother guarding the gate? If you do, please help me talk to him. He had speculated before that Li Zishuan's identity must be either rich or noble. So after seeing Li Zishuan, a glimmer of hope rose in his heart. Mo Zhong, let him in. Li Zishuan smiled and said softly, Yes, Yamacho. Mo Zhong turned around and cupped his hands. Then he said to Di Zhishuan, You can go in now, Lang Jun. Then, when he saw that Di Zhishuan had difficulty walking, he stepped forward to replace Han Laoqi and helped Di Zhishuan into the academy. Di Zhishuan was happy at first, but then he was shocked. He walked up to Li Zishuan and said with his eyes wide open, Little brother, you were Yamacho from Yanhuang College? Li Zishuan smiled and replied, That's right. Long time no see, Brother Di. So, little brother, you were Li Zishuan? When Di Zhishuan heard Li Zishuan admit it, he was finally completely dumbfounded. He had speculated that Li Zishuan might be the descendant of a high-ranking official in the imperial court and had an extraordinary identity. However, he had never expected that the little brother he met by chance would be Li Zishuan, who was also a Yamacho from Yanhuang College. Li Zishuan found it funny and said, Yes, what's wrong? Brother Di, aren't you in a hurry to take the exam? Di Zhishuan suddenly remembered the important matter and hurriedly said, Oh, all right. I'm going to take the exam first. Little brother, oh no, it should be a macho. Thank you so much this time. After saying that, he hurriedly turned around to enter the examination hall. However, he stopped after taking 2 steps. He turned around and said awkwardly, Cough, cough. I had something to do yesterday and couldn't leave, so I didn't get the exam number. Yamacho, which room should I take the exam in? There were hundreds of small rooms in the Guanghua building in front of him. If he didn't ask clearly, he wouldn't be able to find it even if he searched for the whole morning. Li Zishuan looked at Di Zhishuan's injured right foot thoughtfully and said, Mo Zhong, help Brother Di to the medical hall to see a doctor first. If his foot isn't treated in time, it will be easy for him to become disabled. Di Zhishuan hurriedly waved his hand and said, No need, no need. I'll see a doctor myself after the exam. Yamacho, tell me where to take the exam first. Mo Zhong glanced at Di Zhishuan's injured ankle and looked up at Li Zishuan. Yamacho, this little Longjuan's foot must have been accidentally sprained. I happen to know some massage techniques. Why don't I give him a massage and relieve the pain in a moment? He should be fine after he goes back and applies some medicine. Li Zishuan looked at Mo Zhong in surprise and nodded. Okay, Mo Zhong, help Brother Di treat his foot first. Mo Yun, go find Mr. Yin and get the exam number. Brother Di, you can treat his foot first. The 2 brothers, Mo Zhong and Mo Yun, naturally accepted the order. Although Di Zhishuan felt that it was a waste of time, he had to wait for Mo Yun to get the examination number before he could take the examination. Therefore, he could only agree and said, Thank you, Mountainhead. Thank you, Brother Mo. A moment later, Mo Yun came back with the exam number plate. Mo Zhong had just finished massaging Di Zhishuan's ankle. Di Zhishuan got down to feel it and found that the piercing pain in his ankle had disappeared. He said happily, it doesn't hurt anymore. Brother Mo, you're really good. Thank you, thank you. Li Zishuan glanced at the exam number and smiled. Brother Di, go quickly. You're in exam room 51. I'll ask someone to take you there. Thank you. Di Zhishuan took the exam number and thanked him with cupped fists. Then, he was led by a follower of the school of Mo to the resplendent building. Li Zishuan looked at his back and smiled inexplicably. This unlucky kid actually ran away from home? I wonder what Secretary D will think when he finds out. At the same time, it also shows that there are still many people who look down on engineering. After meeting Di Jixuan for the first time, Li Zixuan deliberately collected information about Di Jixuan's father, Di Xiaoxiu. Now that he had a basic understanding of the Di family, he sighed. Mo Zhong and Mo Yun looked at each other. They did not understand what Li Zixuan meant. Young Master Di, this is exam room 51. You can go in by yourself. The follower of the school of Mo said to Di Jixuan when they arrived at a classroom on the west side of the 4th floor. Di Jixuan glanced inside and nodded. Okay, thank you. I'll go in by myself. The invigilator of exam room 51 was Assistant Lecturer Mao. He was about to hand out the test papers when he saw another student at the door. The student said, I'm sorry, sir. I was injured on the way here. That's why I'm here. Assistant Lecturer Mao was about to say something when he saw a middle-aged man in a black robe winking at him. It was the follower of the school of Mo who had just escorted Di Jixuan here. Assistant Lecturer Mao pondered for a moment and understood what was going on. He pointed at a seat behind him and said, Okay, you can sit there. Then he picked up the test papers and said while handing them out, I'll start handing out the test papers now. Please remember what I told you just now. If anyone cheats, they will be disqualified immediately and will never be able to take Yanhuang College's entrance exam again. Please don't play tricks. Chapter 665. In fact, except for Di Jixuan, who didn't have time to look around, all the candidates who took the exam today were shocked by the scene inside the Guanghua building after entering the classroom. The floor was as smooth as a mirror, making people feel as if they were in a dream. The windows made of large pieces of glass made the inside of the building as bright as day, no matter how winding and crisscrossing it was. The spacious and bright classroom, the neatly arranged tables and chairs, and the pure color and sharp edges of the blackboard made all the students have a further understanding of the luxury of Yanhuang College. At the same time, their determination to enter Yanhuang College became firmer. If they couldn't study in such a professional and high-end college in their lifetime, wouldn't it be a great regret in their lives? So after receiving the test papers, almost everyone took a deep breath and then began to answer the questions very seriously. The first question was in line with the rules. Empty and empty, the people can't find a name. Towering, it has success, it has an article. This sentence was taken from the Analects of Confucius. It was a very famous paragraph in which Confucius praised Yao. The general idea was that Yao was so great that people couldn't find a word to describe his praise. His achievements were so outstanding that they were like the light of the sun shining in all directions. Generally, when the candidates answered the questions, they only needed to praise the great achievements of the ancient sages, and then praise the current emperor's literary and martial virtues, express their loyalty, and say that they had the ambition to become the pillar of the country, to share the worries of the emperor, and so on, to get a high score. It could be said that this was a relatively open question, and also a question with a very clear political position. Li Gang's questions were really stable. At least, Li Erui liked it very much. The second question was water, fire, metal, wood, earth, and valley are the only things to cultivate. This question was slightly more difficult than the first one. This sentence came from the great Umo of the Great Book of History. Coincidentally, Kong Yingda also explained this sentence. Water can irrigate, fire can cook, metal can cut, wood can grow, earth can reproduce, and valley can raise. Therefore, these 6 things were called the 6 residences, which are used by nature to raise all living things. As the saying goes, virtue is only good governance, and governance is to raise the people. The virtue of the sage was reflected in dealing with government affairs well, in arranging things like water, fire, metal, wood, earth, and valley was called only cultivation, which could make the people live and work in peace. As long as the meaning was expressed clearly and a few classic sentences of Mencius about the way of the king, the score wouldn't be low. The third question, Unlike some examiners in the Qing Dynasty who tried their best to cut some complete sentences or put a few sentences together to deliberately make things difficult for the candidates, the questions set by Li and Yin Silla were, on the whole, the questions set of the standard Confucian classics questions and the questions. The questions were standard questions and difficult. But some people were the exception. For example, Li Huairan. Oh no, Li Huairan was better. He could more or less tell the origin of some sentences and then talk nonsense. But Cheng Chumo was completely clueless. He didn't know where one of the 12 Confucian classics questions came from, let alone the meaning of the question. So after gritting his teeth for a while, he resolutely gave up on the Confucian classics part and went straight to the next part of the questions. There were many people in the same situation as him, such as Iron Egg and Hu Zhen, who had never learned the 4 books and 5 classics. They were basically people who had learned mathematics halfway. So for the 4 books and 5 classics, they were basically at the same level as Cheng Chumo. Fortunately, the Confucian classics only accounted for 30% of the total score of the whole entrance exam. As long as they got high marks in the other parts, they also had a great chance of passing the exam. But the other parts of the questions were not simple, at least not as simple as they seemed on the surface. In the moral test part, there are no good or bad options in the following questions. You just need to choose the option that is most consistent with your actual situation. Your answers are only for testing and research purposes. Please feel free to answer. What does this mean? Could it be that this so-called moral test part is a freebie question for everyone? No matter what I choose, it will be correct? When Cheng Chumo saw this strange question, he was surprised. Normal people would have the same thoughts as him when they saw this kind of question. However, as a former student of the mathematics school and a close friend who knew Li Zixuan's character very well, Cheng Chumo became witty this time. That's not right. Looking at the style of these questions, only Xiao Xian would come up with this kind of question. But if these questions are really freebies, then what's the point of Xiao Xian coming up with these questions? This kid must be lying. Is he trying to trick me? No way. The score for each option is definitely different. I have to choose carefully. It just so happens that I don't have to do those stupid questions in front of me. I have plenty of time. It had to be said that at this critical moment, Cheng Chumo's random thought had completely saved him. It could also be said that his previous studies in the mathematics school and his understanding of Li Zixuan's character had saved him. This was because the so-called there are no good or bad options in the various options was a huge trap that Li Zixuan had dug for all the candidates. It just depended on how many people jumped into it. In fact, this kind of question often appeared in various modern psychological tests, personality tests, and market research questionnaires. If you really thought that there were no good or bad options in the various options and blindly chose, then it could only prove that you were broken. You might even be labeled as crazy. In Li Zixuan's previous life, when he was in university, he met such a naive and cute classmate. At the beginning of school, the school routinely asked all the students to fill in a psychological test paper. One of the students in his class saw that there was no right or wrong option in the question, so he only took a minute to hand in the paper. As a result, the school arranged for the child to receive psychological counseling for a semester because the teachers determined that the child had severe depression based on his test results. Other than Cheng Chumo, it could be said that the former students of the mathematics school had a trace of vigilance in their hearts after experiencing Li Zixuan's various trashy questions. After all, after being tricked by the same person so many times, one would have a certain understanding of the person's tricks. Therefore, when they saw the questions, their mental reactions were almost the same as Cheng Chumo's. They all reined in at the most crucial moment. Of course, the final test results also proved that it was precisely because they reined in at the most crucial moment that they widened the gap with the other candidates in this part of the questions. Chapter 666. At this time, the whole exam had only been going on for less than a quarter of an hour. The examinees who could do the morality part were basically those who had given up on the classics part. Some of them were former students of the School of Mathematics and Mathematics. Of course, there were also people from other states and counties. This was because Chung Chumo from the School of Mathematics and Mathematics was not the only one who didn't know about classics. However, this part of the exam seemed simple, but it was full of traps. The first question, which city do you think you would prefer to live in? A. Cheongzhou B, Xiangzhou C, Bingzhou D, Luoyang E, Chang'an. The second question, if you could be one of the following creatures, which one would you like to be? A. Cat B, Horse C, Elephant D, Monkey E, Dog F, Tiger. This kind of question had never appeared in the Tang Empire. It made the examinees confused. Many of them were confused and thought, these choices don't seem to be different. It seems that you can choose anything. Is it really like the question said? There is no right or wrong choice for each choice. You can choose anything? It was not that these students were incompetent, but Li Zixuan was too cunning. He gave everyone a psychological misdirection at the beginning. Oh, Master's intention of these questions should be to test the examinee's character. Then what kind of character does Yanhuang College need? I think as long as I can figure this out, then these questions will definitely be able to get a high score. Iron Egg thought silently in his heart as he bit the end of his pen. After a while, his eyes lit up and he said excitedly, I understand. The first question must be Chang'an. Chang'an is full of talents. Although there is more pressure here, there are more opportunities and more challenges to one's ability. Yanhuang College definitely needs such students who are not afraid of difficulties and face them head-on. As for the second question, it's even simpler. Whether it's a person or something else, they must be the most powerful existence. How can they just be a cat or a dog? Of course, I'll choose a tiger. After finding out the purpose of Li Zixuan's questions, Iron Egg did this part of the questions smoothly without any pause. Therefore, he only used an hour to finish these 20 multiple-choice questions. At this moment, there were still more than 2 hours before the end of the exam, so Iron Egg was completely depressed. On the other side, Chung Chumo seemed to have figured out something. He didn't think as much as the Iron Egg. Anyway, he would choose whichever option was awesome, domineering, and most similar to Li Zixuan's personality. Based on these principles, he was able to do it smoothly. He finished almost at the same time as the Iron Egg. However, the examinees from the other states and counties were not as lucky as them. Many of them had chosen answer A and were debating whether or not answer B was more appropriate. Most of the time, once they got tangled up, the original correct answer would be changed into a wrong answer. Moreover, the process of solving the question would be bumpy, which would greatly affect the speed of solving the question. Perhaps some people would say that this kind of question was unfair to the examinees from other places, but was it really unfair? On the one hand, the students from the School of Mathematics had never come across this kind of question. Chung Chumo, Iron Egg, and the others completely relied on their own comprehension to figure out the trick to solving the question. On the other hand, at the beginning of the question, Li Zixuan had explained that the examinees should choose according to their own real situation. If there were examinees who had strong willpower, a calm mind, a strong desire to lead, a strong ambition, and a personality that wouldn't give up until they achieved their goals, then they could fill in the question according to their real thoughts and get a high score. The purpose of Li Zixuan's set of questions was to select a group of students with good temperament for Yanhuang College. How was it unfair? Moreover, when the world could be absolutely fair, it was undeniable that Chung Chumo, Iron Egg, and the others were opportunistic because they might not be completely in line with this kind of personality. However, sometimes opportunism and improvisation were also a kind of personal ability. They were opportunistic within the rules. So who could say anything? Oh, hand in the paper. Let's not waste time. When there were only 2 hours left before the exam, Iron Egg stood up resolutely, walked to the podium, handed the paper to the invigilator, and left the classroom. Most of the students from the School of Mathematics were in the 7th examination room. After seeing Iron Egg handing in his paper, Chung Chumo also handed in his paper in advance. He felt that he wouldn't be able to solve the Confucian Classics section even if he was given another year. It was better to hand it in early and go home for lunch. After all, the mathematics exam in the afternoon was the most important one for him. Yes, you heard it right. Mathematics was now Cheng Chumo's best subject. After Cheng Chumo, some students also handed in their papers one after another. There were Wang Ming, Yu Dongkai, Kong Chuinten, Song Tianyu, Jiang Wenchong, Bai Hongyuan, and other second-generation officials from the School of Mathematics. There were also a few students from other provinces and counties. It seemed that these people were not proficient in Confucian classics. As for Li Tai, Meng Wenhao, Ku Shiqing, Zheng Ziren, and other top students in the School of Mathematics, they were not as uncultured as Cheng Chumo. Therefore, at this time, they had just finished the moral characters section. Cough, cough. It had to be said that Sun Zifan, this little fatty, under the influence of his father who was the #1 scholar, knew a thing or two about Confucian classics. At the very least, out of the 12 Confucian classics questions, there were 7 or 8 that he knew the answers to. Of these 7 or 8 questions, at least 4 of them he knew how to answer. Virgo, you brat, why are you out so soon? Li Zishuan, who had just finished patrolling the various examination rooms, saw Cheng Chumo's back as soon as he went downstairs. It seemed that this guy was preparing to leave the school and go home. He hurriedly called out to Cheng Chumo and said. Cheng Chumo stopped in his tracks and turned to look at Li Zishuan. He said in a bad mood, "If I don't come out so soon, do you think I'll wait for the new year inside? It's not like you don't know that I, old Cheng, am not good at those things, right?" Li Zishuan walked over at this time and asked with a smile, "So you're saying that you're very good at the second half of the moral character test?" Cheng Chumo narrowed his eyes and laughed very proudly. He said, "Hey, Xiaoxian, you must think that those questions of yours can stump me, right? Ha! Let me tell you, there's no way this time. Ha ha ha! I'm not going to talk to you anymore. I have to go home and recharge my energy. This afternoon is the subject I'm best at. This time, I'll definitely be able to get into Yanhuang College." After saying that, this guy waved his hand and disappeared in a flash. Li Zishuan was stunned for a while. He didn't know what medicine this guy took and where he got his confidence from. Moreover, because of Cheng Chumo, even if this time Cheng Chumo didn't do well in the exam, Li Zishuan would use special means to recruit him into the school. Now it seemed that he could save this step. Cheng Chumo, who thought that he had jumped out of Li Zishuan's trap, did not know that he had fallen into another trap of Li Zishuan's. Chapter 667. Including Li Zishuan, there were a total of 77 teachers in the Yanhuang Academy. There were also 13 teachers, 11 followers of the school of Mo, plus Mo Zhong and Mo Yun, who were in charge of the academy's security and daily chores. Other than the 52 teachers who were supposed to invigilate the exam, the rest of the teachers were assigned as volunteers to deal with any unexpected situations that might arise at any time. It was close to noon, less than an hour before the end of the exam. Suddenly, a young teacher hurriedly found Li Zishuan and said, "Mountain leader, it's not good. Di Xiaoxiu, Minister Di, has come to the mountain gate. He said he's here to take his son back. He wants us to open the gate quickly." Li Zishuan had come to Li Gang's office to chat after the exam. When they were talking about the morality test, the young teacher came over. Li Zishuan's expression changed slightly, and a trace of anger welled up in his heart. "Oomph. Isn't this Di Chang going too far? What a disgrace to Yanhuang College." Li Gang stroked his beard and nodded in agreement. "Yes, it's a little overboard. He can settle his own family matters behind closed doors when he's back home, but it's too ungentlemanly to cause a ruckus here. This old man will go with you." Li Zishuan nodded. "Okay, I'll have to trouble you, sir." The two left Guanghua Building and went all the way to the gate of the college. They saw an old man in black with 2 servants who were staring at the 2 followers of the school of Mo at the gate. "Let me in. I'm just taking my son back. I won't affect anyone else." "I'm sorry, Di Chong. Yamacho has a rule that no one is allowed to enter the college during the exam period." "Bastard. Could it be that this old man is also an idler?" "This, Secretary D, please don't misunderstand. I'm not targeting you. What I mean is that those who don't belong to Yanhuang College, those who have nothing to do with the exam, and those who will affect the exam are called miscellaneous people." Li Zishuan walked over quickly. The two followers of the school of Mo at the gate heaved a sigh of relief as if they had just been pardoned. They had lived in a harsh place for a long time and had no experience in dealing with important people like Di Xiaoxiu. They had almost said the wrong thing and escalated the conflict. Li Zhanshu. Di Xiaoxiu squinted his eyes and stood with his hands behind his back. He said in a clear voice, Li Zhanshu, when you founded Yanhuang College, this old man has never raised any objections. However, this old man hopes that the younger generation in my family will become an official. Today, this old man's fifth son sneaked away from home and came here to take the entrance exam. Therefore, I hope that Li Zhanshu can give this old man a convenience and let this old man kidnap that unfilial son and bring him back. Overbearing, Di Xiaoxiu was being overbearing. Li Zixuan did not back down. He looked straight at Di Xiaoxiu and said with an unfriendly expression, Secretary Di, I don't care how you teach your son and how you throw your weight around at home. However, this is Yanhuang College. Right now, there are more than 2,000 students studying hard for their future. How can I ruin the future of the other students for the sake of your family? Di Xiaoxiu was furious. He pointed at Li Zixuan and said, Humph, good boy, you're getting more and more arrogant. This old man is just... Haha, Secretary Di, little Xian is just stating facts. Why do you have to be so angry? Li Gang walked over at this time. He looked at Di Xiaoxiu and said with emotion, You and I are both old men who have been officials in the imperial court for many years. You should be more patient with the younger generation. You should be less angry. Di Xiaoxiu's pupils shrank. He cupped his hands at Li Gang and said, So old Mr. Li is also here. Forget it. This old man was too impetuous just now. I didn't think about your Yanhuang College. This old man will wait outside until that unfilial son comes out after the exam. Li Gang's seniority was too great. Looking at all the civil and military officials in the imperial court, not many people would not give him face. Di Xiaoxiu, of course, could not do that. Therefore, seeing that Li Gang was here, Di Xiaoxiu decisively took a step back. That's right. You and Xiao Xian are both officials in the imperial court. Why do you have to bear a grudge over such a small matter? Li Gang nodded with satisfaction and smiled while stroking his beard. Li Zixuan was somewhat dissatisfied. He frowned and said to Di Xiaoxiu, Secretary Di, are you going to bring your son home today? Di Xiaoxiu raised his head and said, Of course. Not only that, even if he passes this time, this old man will not let him come to Yanhuang College. The smile on Li Gang's face suddenly froze. Li Zixuan's face was even more furious. Humiliation. This was a great humiliation to Yanhuang Academy and Gong Shui. Secretary Di, you have a great prejudice against my engineering. Li Zixuan asked with a gloomy face. Di Xiaoxiu said, This old man is just speaking the truth. I'm not prejudiced. As for engineering, this old man personally does not think highly of it. Running a country and managing a family requires Confucianism. Li Zixuan sneered and said, Why? Secretary Di, do you still think that engineering is a miscellaneous subject? Di Xiaoxiu said matter-of-factly, Isn't it? Of all the learning in the world, only Confucianism is orthodox. Li Zhanshu, you've been traveling around the world with an expert since young. I'm sure you've never been influenced by Confucianism. That's why you can't feel the charm of Confucianism. However, this old man believes that you will feel it one day. This old man was secretly looking down on Li Zixuan for being uncultured. Li Zixuan's eyes were burning with anger. He said angrily, The president of Yanhuang College is the current emperor. Secretary Di, you still say that engineering is a miscellaneous subject. What do you think of His Majesty? That's right. Minister Di, what position do you place me in by saying this? Just as Li Zixuan finished speaking, a cold voice came from outside the door. When everyone heard the voice clearly, they were all shocked. Because Li Er had come. He had come at this critical and sensitive time. His arrival had tipped the scales of victory in Li Zixuan's favor. Greetings, Your Majesty. After the shock, everyone bowed to Li Er, who was dressed in casual clothes. Li Zixuan arranged for someone to open the door and followed suit. Let's go in first. Li Er waved his hand, and said to Li Zishuan. The group of people entered the meeting room of Guanghua Building. After they were seated, Li Er asked again. Dear Secretary D, this old man asked you a question. You said that engineering is a miscellaneous subject. What do you think of me, the president of Yanhuang College? Even a fool could see the anger in Li Er's eyes. After all, Li Er had given a lot of support to Yanhuang College. Di Xiaoxiu's face turned pale when he heard this. He did not know how to answer. Chapter 668. After the morning court session, Li Er remembered that Yanhuang College was holding an entrance exam. Ever since he, Zhang Sun, Yang Fei, and their children visited Yanhuang College after its completion, he was shocked. At the same time, he was looking forward to the future of Yanhuang College. Li Er reckoned that the examination over there was not over yet. Thus, on a whim, he decided to go to Yanhuang Academy to take a look. Who knew that as soon as he climbed up the cloud mountain, he would hear the conversation between Di Xiaoxiu and Li Zishuan. Li Er, who was originally full of anticipation, suddenly felt as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over his heart. Your Majesty, I was impatient for my son and spoke indiscreetly. Please forgive me, Your Majesty. In all of the great Tang, only a few people dared to directly confront the enraged Li Er. It was clear that Di Xiaoxiu was not one of them. Sensing Li Er's aggressive gaze and the powerful pressure radiating from his body, Di Xiaoxiu hesitated for a moment before bowing and begging for forgiveness. Impatient for your son? Li Er was still a little dissatisfied. He snorted and said, Do you mean that Yanhuang College is a tiger's den? Or is it a place of corruption? Why are you in such a hurry to take your son away from here? This was not a question that would give him free marks. It was a question that would kill him. Di Xiaoxiu's forehead was covered in cold sweat. He didn't know how to answer and could only say, I dare not. Bam! Li Er finally exploded. He slammed the table, stood up, and said angrily, You dare not? But you've already done it. Why not? I've already said in the court that engineering is not a miscellaneous study. As long as it's useful to the Tang Empire and can make the Tang Empire stronger, I'm willing to accept it. But there are always some people who ignore the interests of the country, the court, my repeated orders, and the millions of people of the Tang Empire because of their prejudice. What are you guys up to? You must know that there's a country before there is Confucianism and engineering. If the great Tang is weak and falls into the hands of the foreign race, where can Confucianism spread to? Don't tell me you want to be the dog of the foreign race that enslaves us Han people. I became the dean of Yanhuang College in order to make you give up your prejudice. But I didn't expect that even so, some people still think that engineering is a miscellaneous subject. Very good. Di Xiaoxiu, you have to know that you are my minister before you are a disciple of the Confucian sect. At the end of his speech, Li Er was so angry that he started laughing. His angry voice even echoed in the meeting room. When the guards outside felt Li Er's anger, they couldn't help but straighten their backs and widen their eyes, afraid that someone would barge in at this time. And Di Xiaoxiu, who was facing Li Er's anger, felt even more pressure. He quickly bowed and said sorrowfully, I'm afraid, Your Majesty, please calm down. Li Zishuan secretly applauded when he heard this, especially when Li Er said, You must know that there's a country before there is Confucianism and engineering. If the great Tang is weak and falls into the hands of the foreign race, where can Confucianism spread to? Don't tell me you want to be the dog of the foreign race that enslaves us Han people. In his previous life, he read a post that talked about the performance of the descendants of Confucius when the country was on the brink of death. At that time, he was so angry that he cursed out loud. The content of the post was roughly as follows. During the coup of Jinkong in the Southern Song Dynasty, the Jin Kingdom invaded the Song Dynasty. Gaozong of the Southern Song Dynasty, the king of Kong, Zhao Su, fled to the south. The 48th Duke of Yansheng, Kong Duanyo, abandoned his ancestral temple and fled to the south in the name of paying respects to the emperor. In 1252 AD, the 50th Duke of Yansheng, Kong Yuansua, passed away. At this time, The Mongol nobles ruled the Central Plains. At this time, the descendants of Confucius did not lead the people to serve the country with loyalty. Instead, they fought to flatter their new master, Kublai Khan. It was said that at that time, Kong Yuan's sons and nephews all ran to Kublai Khan to fight for the title of Duke of Yenshing. When he saw the ugliness of the descendants of Confucius, Kublai Khan laughed and replied, "All of you, go back and study hard. If you have talent, I will give you the title of an official." 400 years later, the Manchurian Qing entered the pass, and Eisenjoro Feline ascended the throne in Beijing. The 64th Duke of Yensheng, Kong Yinji, who was conferred the title by Emperor Chongzhen, immediately submitted a memorial to Emperor Xuanji the next day. He also flattered the Manchu Qing monarch in the first entry essay, bearing the heavens and imperial supremacy, subduing the people with virtue. The sixth universe shared the divine sovereign, the eight wastelands salty song holy emperor. The mountains and rivers and the sun and the moon share the splendor. The nation's Kolerhan Bingyong, and the nation's Kolerhan Bingyong. He also claimed in fear and trepidation that, "Your subject is a Confucian scholar. Zhang Jian is insignificant. I have received the great kindness of the previous generations. Today, I celebrate the prosperity of the new dynasty. I look forward to learning. I fear to fall behind," and so on. This kind of servile attitude was simply disgusting. Therefore, throughout history, whenever foreign invaders invaded on a large scale, almost none of the descendants of the Holy Gate could stand up and organize the people to fight against the foreign invaders. On the contrary, they always immediately surrendered to the foreign invaders and eagerly asked the foreign invaders to continue their title of Duke of Yensheng. The weakness in the bones of Confucianism was obvious. Perhaps Lier's words just now were unintentional, but it just so happened to predict the state of Confucianism 1,000 years later. At that time, the disciples of Confucianism would really become the dogs of the foreign race who enslaved the Han people. Of course, this kind of slightly rebellious words, only Lier dared to say it. No one after Lier dared to say it directly. One reason was that at this time, Confucianism had not developed to the point where it could completely control the political situation of the imperial court. Another reason was that Lier was a strong ruler who could rule the country with both literary and martial arts. He had absolute control over the country. I know you are not convinced in your heart. Then I will tell you one more thing. Not long from now, I plan to implement Li Zishuan's new mathematics in the entire Tang Dynasty. At that time, all the local government and yamen will have to use the numbers and calculation methods in the new mathematics. After Lier calmed himself down, he looked at Di Xiaoxiu and said lightly. Di Xiaoxiu was shocked and wanted to say something, but he forced himself to hold it back. Seeing this, Lier said meaningfully, "Beloved official Di, you must think that my actions are inappropriate? Although I am biased towards engineering, I will not ignore the interests of the country. The previous Imperial College mathematics Dr. Liu told me not long ago that if we fully implement mathematics in the Tang Dynasty, not only the Ministry of Civil Affairs, but even the household officials and granary officials of the prefectures and counties will be able to calculate at least 5 times faster, and their accuracy will increase by several times. Beloved official D, do you know how much this will reduce the expenses of the Tang Dynasty?" Chapter 669. I don't know. Di Xiaoxi was sweating profusely as he bowed. Lier squinted his eyes and snorted. Of course you don't know. Every year, when the imperial court collects taxes from the local governments, there are always some crafty people who hire people to falsify the accounts to deceive the officials. If we can really implement the new mathematics on a large scale, our Tang Empire will have a surplus of 100,000 strings of cash every year. Do you know how many people can be saved with this amount of cash? Li Zishuan's heart thumped. He truly hadn't expected Li Erwi to suddenly decide to promote his new mathematics on a large scale. Although the new mathematics truly was beneficial to the daily work of the central and local finance departments, it was still very difficult to promote it throughout the country, as very few people were willing to learn it. Lier continued, "Previously, I have already ordered the implementation of Li Zishuan's pinyin. Judging from a reaction of the people in the past few months, the implementation has been very effective. At least now, many children can read the Tang Dynasty dictionary to others. Now, I'm going to implement his new mathematics. Dear Minister D, do you still dare to say that engineering is a miscellaneous study and a useless study?" Seeing that Lier was so supportive of Li Zishuan, Di Xiaoxiu didn't dare to be as arrogant as before. It must be known that Lier's personality was very domineering at this time. The Prime Minister of the Empire could do whatever he wanted. Xiaoyu was a living example, and didn't need to discuss with the other officials. From the looks of it, Di Xiaoxiu was just a small left deputy minister and a scattered cavalry attendant. Therefore, he could only say, "I know my mistake. I won't dare to do it again." He knew he was in the wrong, but Lier seemed to be unforgiving today. He paced 2 steps on the spot and continued, "Others can study in the Yanhuang Academy, but you, Di Xiaoxiu's son, have a noble status. Do you think it will be an insult to his status in the Yanhuang Academy? Let me tell you another piece of news. Do you know that among the examinees today, there are Zhang Sun Chong, Xuanling's son, Fang Yizhi, and Deng Shan's, Chu Suiliang's son, Chu Yinfu? If their sons can come to Yanhuang College, why can't your son?" This time, Di Xiaoxiu was really shocked. He never thought that Zhangsun Wuji, the head of the civil officials, would actually let his own son participate in Yanhuang College's exam. This, Di Xiaoxiu really wanted to say, "There's a traitor among us." Not to mention Di Xiaoxiu. Even Li Zishuan was shocked when he heard the news. Zhangsun Wuji, Fang Xianling, Chu Suiliang, these sons of civil officials actually came. He looked at Li Gang next to him and found that the old man's face was calm at the moment. Obviously, he already knew about this. This made Li Zishuan feel frustrated. It was because he was not careful in his work. Otherwise, he wouldn't have only found out about it now. Seeing the shock on Di Xiaoxiu's face, Lier chuckled and said, "Today's matter is your family's business, and I have no right to interfere. However, since it involves Yanhuang College, I have no choice but to interfere. It's fine if Di Zhishuan doesn't pass the exam this time, but if he does, and you still dare to obstruct me, I won't let you off easily. Otherwise, where will Yanhuang College's prestige be? Where will my face be? Also, your behavior today is too excessive. Go home and reflect on it for a month. Do you understand?" Reasonably speaking, Lier's request wasn't excessive. His starting point was just to help Li Zishuan protect Yanhuang College's reputation. Otherwise, if Di Zhishuan really got into Yanhuang College and was forced to drop out due to Di Xiaoxiu's pressure, wouldn't the news spread that Yanhuang College was just a place for the Di family that they didn't want? In this way, not only would Yanhuang College's reputation be damaged, but Lier's plan of using engineering to weaken the aristocratic families and balance Confucianism would also fail. This was something Lier couldn't tolerate. However, Di Xiaoxiu didn't think so. It was fine if he had to reflect at home for a month, but he had high hopes for Di Zhishuan. Thus, he couldn't help but say, "Your Majesty, this, What?" Lier's eyes flashed with a trace of fierceness, and his voice became a little dangerous. Di Xiaoxiu trembled and finally bowed his head and said, "This old official obeys." Lier nodded with satisfaction and said, "Well, in this case, Minister D, you can go back. We just finished the morning court and Minister D came here. You must be physically and mentally tired. You'd better go back and have a good rest." Di Xiaoxiu was speechless. He wanted to wait here until the morning's exam was over and hint Di Zhishuan not to do his best for the exam. However, Lier asked him to go home directly, which really blocked his last escape route. He had no choice but to salute and say, "Thank you for your understanding, Your Majesty." This old official will take his leave. At this point, he could only pray in his heart that Di Zhishuan's arithmetic level was terrible. After Di Xiaoxiu left, Lier looked at Li Zishuan and said, "Where do these candidates have lunch at noon? Boy, do you have any arrangements?" Chung Chimo was a special case. He handed in his paper early and lived close to the college, so he could go home for lunch and take a nap. However, for most of the students, they could only eat lunch at Yanhuan College or near Yanhuan College. Otherwise, it was very likely that they would be late for the afternoon exam. The afternoon exam time was 1:30 in the afternoon. Lisa Xuan replied with a smile, "Your Majesty, thank you for your concern. I have already arranged it. The college's canteen will be open to the candidates at noon. It can accommodate more than 1,000 people at the same time. If anyone thinks the food in the canteen is too expensive, they can also eat in the Plum Village and the Han Village at the foot of the mountain. The villagers there have prepared all kinds of food today." Lier stared at him and said, "Oh, what? Boy, do you need money to feed the students?" It was no wonder that Lisa Xuan had such thoughts. It was because Lisa Xuan's usual style of doing things was very rich. Especially when he built Yanhuan College. He threw away hundreds of thousands of coins without batting an eye. After Lisa Xuan heard this, he almost vomited blood. What did he mean he needed money to feed the students? Was this something a King human would say? When he was in school in his previous life, he had to swipe his campus card to eat. "Your Majesty, the ingredients used in the college's cooking were all bought by me at a high price. This is all cost. You can't let me run the college for 2 years and throw away all my family's wealth, right?" Lisa Xuan said with a sullen face. Lier was happy when he saw this and said, "Go, go, go. Do you think I don't know your background? You're actually complaining to me about being poor. Let's not talk about other things. Because Chengxian and Qinke are doing business with you. They're now richer than me. Many of the emperor's clothes and jewelry this summer were bought by them." Lisa Xuan was speechless. Li Gang said with a chuckle, "Haha, Your Majesty, little Xian is right. The food in the college is very good, so the ingredients are also very expensive. I want to spend the rest of my life here." Chapter 670. Lier had never been to Yanhuan College's cafeteria before. After hearing Li Gang's praises for the food in the cafeteria, he had the idea of going there to take a look. The three of them went to the cafeteria before the exam ended. They casually ordered 3 side dishes and sat at a long dining table to eat. The environment is not bad, and the food is not bad. You brat, not only do you know how to enjoy yourself, you also have to lead others to enjoy with you. When the students of Yanhuan College graduate in the future, will they all be like you, not knowing how to suffer, but only know how to enjoy themselves? After eating, Lier drank tea with satisfaction and joked with Lisa Xuan at the same time. Lisa Xuan shook his head and said, "I don't think so. Although the conditions of Yanhuan College are very good, this is just a big pie that I painted for the students. I want to tell them that if they want to live a good life in the future, and if they want the people of Tang Empire to not have to worry about food and clothing, then they have to study engineering hard. Moreover, for most students, if they want to eat well and study well in Yanhuan College, they have to put in a lot of effort. It doesn't mean that they don't need to suffer." Lier pointed at Lisa Xuan and said, "You're full of twisted logic." Then he looked out the window, sighed, and said, "I have already helped you block many voices of opposition. You have to work hard yourself. I have high hopes for Gong Shui, but if it continues to be useless, then I will be very disappointed. Do you know?" Lisa Xuan's heart trembled. He said in a deep voice, "I understand. I will not let your Majesty down." Indeed, Lier had done enough for engineering in Yanhuan College. However, one needed to be strong to forge iron. If Lisa Xuan could not prove the value of engineering in the next few years, then Lisa Xuan would have nothing to say even if Lier gave up on Yanhuan College. Clang, clang, clang. At this moment, loud and clear sounds of bells and drums could be heard from all directions of the academy. Lisa Xuan looked at Lisa Xuan in confusion. Lisa Xuan smiled and explained, "Your Majesty, this means that the examination is over. I think the candidates will be here for their meals soon." Lier was suddenly enlightened. Then he stood up and prepared to leave. Before he left, he said, "All right, in order to avoid unnecessary trouble, I'm going back to the palace. In a while, get someone to send a copy of the exam papers to me. Also, send the answers to me. I'll have time to see what kind of questions you've set this time." Li Zixuan thought for a while. Lier wouldn't reveal the questions and answers for the afternoon exam, would he? In this world, the person who could bribe Lier to help cheat probably hadn't been born yet. Thus, he cupped his hands and replied, "Yes. Hey, Tianhua, how did you do? Are you confident?" Liao Feichen asked with a smile as he walked downstairs. The legendary heroes of Jin and Yu were gathered together again. Chun Tianhua said angrily, "There's another exam in the afternoon. It's too early to say if I'm confident or not. Let's think about where to go to fill our stomachs first." Hua Hongyi laughed and said, "Haha, that's right. The world is big, but eating is the most important. Only when we fill our stomachs will we have the energy to deal with the afternoon exam." Anyway, he didn't need to pay for his meals recently, so this guy was the happiest. Liao Feichen rolled his eyes. He thought for a while and said, "Why don't we go to the academy's cafeteria to eat? Didn't the gentleman at the entrance say that today's candidates can eat at Yinhuang College's cafeteria?" Chen Tianhua hesitated and said, "But who knows if the food here is expensive or not? We've seen the luxury of Yinhuang College today. What if the price of the food in the cafeteria is as luxurious as the high-rise buildings here? How can we afford it? Why don't we go to the villager's house at the foot of the mountain to eat?" "Hey, Tianhua, you're the author of Zhang Xiaohua's biography of a cultivator. You have thousands of followers. How can you shrink back from such a small matter?" Hearing this, Hua Hongyi fanned the flames from his side. Chen Tianhua was furious. Just as he was about to explode, he heard Liao Feichen say, "Let's go and take a look first. I don't think Lord Li will use these dishes to make money wantonly. Besides, if it's really ridiculously expensive, we'll go down the mountain to eat." "Tianhua, what do you think?" Chen Tianhua said helplessly, "Since you've already said it, what else can I do? Let's go." "Hee. Let's go. The two of them laughed excitedly and hurriedly followed him. When they arrived at the cafeteria of Yinhuang College, the three of them were once again amazed by the huge building and the luxurious decorations. Chen Tianhua touched his wallet and swallowed his saliva. In the end, he still walked in under the urging of the two guys behind him. After entering, they realized that there were already hundreds of examinees inside. Moreover, they were divided into more than 10 lines. It looked like they were queuing up for food. So many people are here to eat. It doesn't look expensive," Liao Feichen said with a smile when he saw the scene. Chen Tianhua did not deny it. He randomly chose a shorter line and walked in. After walking in, the three of them realized that there was a menu posted on the window of each line. Moreover, there was a price tag behind each dish. Gnawed chicken, 250 copper coins. Braised pork, 250 copper coins. Meatball, 250 copper coins. Dompa pork, 250 copper coins. Twice cooked pork, 250 copper coins. Hiss, why are the dishes here so expensive? Ordering 3 dishes already costs almost 1 copper coin. Liao Feichen could not help but exclaim after looking at the prices on the menu. The surrounding students in a line heard him and immediately looked at him with disdain. Hua Hongyi quickly pulled Liao Feichen and whispered, "Feichen, don't talk nonsense. These dishes are the signature dishes of Zuaxian restaurant. Each dish costs 1 copper coin there. However, they're only sold for 250 copper coins here. This means that Lord Li really does not intend to earn money from the students. Don't say that they are expensive." Chen Tianhua was also shocked when he heard that. He whispered, "Each dish costs 1 copper coin? Hongyi, are you sure that people will eat such expensive dishes?" Hua Hongyi curled his lips and said, There are many people who are willing to eat them. Sometimes they even have to line up." Liao Feichen clicked his tongue and said, "Wow, there are so many rich people in Chang'an City. However, if we really calculate it this way, wouldn't we have earned more than 500 copper coins just by randomly eating a dish here today?" Chen Tianhua was speechless and said, "You can calculate it this way." In the end, the three of them only bought a plate of braised pork and a plate of gnawed chicken. Even so, Chen Tianhua felt the pinch because he was the one who paid for it. Previously, it was said that Yanhuang College's first batch of students did not have to pay tuition fees, and that it was a chance for us poor students. But now, it seems that with these dishes, how many poor students can afford to eat them every day? Chapter 671. You can't say that. Maybe the food in our line is more expensive. Look at the people next to us. Their food is very different from ours. Maybe the price is different too? Hearing Chun Tianhua's complaint, Hua Hongyi looked around and couldn't help but say. Chun Tianhua also looked around and said, no wonder the line we were in just now had the least people. It turns out that the food there is the most expensive. Liao Feichen grinned and said, hee hee, we've already bought it. Why are you still talking about this? Let's eat first. Hee hee. Chun Tianhua and Hua Hongyi saw that most of the food on their plate was gone. They roared in unison, F***CK. Shut up, Feichen. Hee hee. Chinke, I didn't expect that not only do we have to line up to eat, but we also have to pay for it ourselves. Li Ku and Li Tai sat opposite each other near a window. Looking at the 4 dishes on the table, Li Ku said with a smile. Li Tai pouted and said as if he was used to it. What's so strange about that? Mr. Li is a person who values rules very much. He is most particular about treating everyone equally. Aku, you'll stay in Yanhuang College for a long time in the future. Little brother, let me remind you not to try to cut the line. If Mr. Li finds out, no one can save you. Li Tai and Li Ku were born only a month apart, so Li Tai wasn't used to calling Li Ku elder brother. Instead, he called him by his name. Hearing how scary this guy was, Li Ku couldn't help but shrink his neck and said weakly, Ah Tai, is this really as serious as you say? Li Tai stuffed a piece of chicken into his mouth and said with a lisp, Oh, of course. How can I cheat you not hurt? Oh, Li Ku answered in a muffled voice. Then, seeing how happy Li Tai was eating, he couldn't help but pick up a piece of braised pork and put it into his mouth. The child suddenly opened his eyes wide and exclaimed with a lisp, Oh, why is the food at Yanhuang College so delicious? When Li Tai heard that, a sense of superiority immediately rose in his heart. As he ate, he said proudly, Of course, the dishes we're eating are all the signature dishes of the Drunken Immortal Restaurant. Of course, there are many dishes here that the Drunken Immortal Restaurant doesn't have. In any case, in my opinion, the food here is even better than the Imperial Palace. Although what Li Tai said was a little exaggerated, Li Tai thought about it seriously and nodded in agreement. Yes, that's true. Wouldn't it be great to study in Yanhuang College in the future? Li Tai was just about to nod his head in agreement when he suddenly remembered that Li Zixuan had said not long ago that Yanhuang College would help him lose weight during the first month of school. The little fatty immediately withered and said in a depressed tone, Maybe. After saying that, he turned his grief and indignation into appetite and stuffed the meat into his mouth. Ugh. Li couldn't know why Li Tai's mood suddenly became depressed when he was clearly very happy. He paused and deliberately changed the topic. Li Tai, in the exam this morning, that so-called moral test, is it really like what the questions say? There's no right or wrong, no good or bad choices. Cough, cough. Aku, you don't really believe it, do you? That's Mr. Li's evil scheme. When Li Tai heard that, he immediately spat out the rice and almost choked himself to death. He recovered and said to Li Ku. Li Ku was quite agile and avoided the tragedy of being sprayed all over his face, but when he looked at the table full of food, he couldn't eat anymore. However, after listening to Li Tai's words, he was a little curious. Evil scheme? Could it be that the questions are all lies? When Li Tai saw that the table full of food had been sprayed into such an unsightly state by him, he was a little embarrassed. He touched his nose embarrassedly and said, Of course it's a lie. Aku, if you believe it and randomly choose, then you're finished. Speaking of which, you don't really believe it, do you? Li Ku shook his head and said, No, I did believe it at first, but the more I thought about it, the more I felt that something was wrong, so I changed it. Li Tai heaved a sigh of relief and said, Oh, that's good. Then, let's order another table full of food. Sure enough, let's eat. On the other side, Iron Egg and Hu Jun sat together. As people from the same village, Iron Egg naturally had to take care of Iron Egg, so this lunch was naturally his treat. As Li Zixuan's brother-in-law, this child was not short of money now. "Oh, thank you, Iron Egg bro." Hu Jun thanked him and looked at the delicious food on the table. He licked his lips and said embarrassedly, "I didn't expect the food here to be so expensive. I'll return the money to you when I go back." Iron Egg waved his hand and said, "Ha, no need. No need, this meal is my treat." "How can that be? This meal already cost a lot of money." "Huh, if I say it's okay, then it's okay. Hurry up and eat. If you continue to talk nonsense, I'll get angry." Oh, Hu Jun saw that Iron Egg was really angry, so he lowered his head and ate a few mouthfuls. He suddenly said, "Iron Egg bro, this Yanhuang College is so expensive. If I get admitted in the future, I won't be able to afford this meal, but I don't know if I can go home to eat." Iron Egg laughed and said, "That won't do. The academy doesn't allow students to go out during normal times. They can only go home during holidays. As for food, in fact, there are many cheaper dishes in the cafeteria. Each meal should only cost a dozen copper coins. Also, I heard from my master that Yanhuang College will assign some tasks to students in the future. Students can do tasks in the academy to earn money while studying. Besides, the academy's annual scholarship will be very generous. Anyway, as long as you are diligent and eager to learn, you will have a good life in the academy." Hu Jun was surprised and said, "Really? Haha, if that's the case, then I can eat good food in the academy every day in the future." Iron Egg was speechless. He thought that this child would not become a foodie like Li Tai in the future. "Oh, strange. My father didn't come to see me. It's really strange. Hasn't the morning court session ended yet?" Di Jixuan also came to the cafeteria after the exam. Looking at the attractive dishes in front of him, he was not in a hurry to eat. Instead, he frowned and let his imagination run wild. "Oh, forget it, forget it. Let's eat first and finish the exam in the afternoon. At most, I'll get beaten up when I go back. Dad can't beat me to death, can he?" After a while, Di Jixuan shook his head and murmured. Then he picked up a piece of chicken and stuffed it into his mouth. Feeling the burnt and meat aroma, Di Jixuan opened his eyes wide and almost swallowed his chopsticks. "Oh, delicious, really King delicious. If only I could eat here every day." Chapter 672. Hehe. This Yanhuang College is really shocking. Not only is the building luxurious and magnificent, even the food is so exquisite. It's comparable to Zuatian restaurant. Little brother, I came here to learn more about engineering. I didn't expect that I would fall in love with this place. At another table, Zhang Sun Chong, Fang Yiji, Chu Yinfu, and Yuan Shuo were eating together. Zhang Sun Chong suddenly sighed. Fang Yiji laughed. "Yes, I feel the same. Now it's up to us to pass." Chu Yinfu joked. "Yiji, you're so humble. Wasn't the Confucian classics in the morning your best subject? You might even get full marks." Among Fang Xuanling's 3 sons, only the eldest, Fang Yiji, inherited some of his father's studious genes. He was familiar with the classics since young, which was why Chu Yinfu said so. Fang Yiji waved his hand and said, "Yinfu, don't say that. The most important part of this exam is the mathematics in the afternoon. Besides, the morality test in the morning is making me dizzy. I'm really not sure about it." Yuan Shuo couldn't help but say, "Actually, I'm curious. Why did Prime Minister Fang, Prime Minister Chu, and Duke Zhao suddenly allow you to come to Yanhuang College? I have less time to prepare than the others by a month. I'm the one who has the least chance of passing." The fathers of the 3 of them were all prime ministers of Tang Dynasty. Only Yuan Shuo's father was a small assistant minister. However, his relationship with Chu Yinfu had always been very good. At first, Chu Yinfu wasn't very sure that he would come to Yanhuang College, so he didn't think much of it. Who knew that Chu Yinfu suddenly told him that he would definitely go to Yanhuang College? As a good friend, of course he had to accompany him. Therefore, taking everything into account, he had only prepared for this exam for slightly more than a month. Hearing Yuan Shua's question, the other three looked at each other. In the end, it was Chu Yinfu who answered, "Actually, I don't know why my father suddenly became open-minded. Maybe it's because the influence of engineering has increased." Zhang Sunzhong and Feng Yizhi also shook their heads. Obviously, I didn't know the reason either. Sigh, who cares? Let's eat. We still have to take the exam after eating. Burp. This food is really comfortable. If only my dad would allow me to stay in Yinhuang College forever after I pass the exam. After lunch, Di Jishuan rubbed his swollen belly and walked unsteadily to Guanghua Building. Although the weather today was not hot, it was better to rest in a classroom than to be noisy outside. "Young man, please wait." Just as Di Jishuan was praying that his father would show mercy and allow him to stay in Yinhuang College in the future, a low but powerful voice suddenly sounded beside him. Di Jishuan was shocked and quickly turned his head to look around. He found a man in black under a big tree not far away, looking at him. "Are you talking to me?" Di Jishuan looked around again and found that there was no one else nearby, so he pointed at himself and asked tentatively, "Okay." The man in black nodded coolly. Di Jishuan became alert and thought to himself, "This is the academy. I won't meet any bad guys, will I?" He asked tentatively, "Then may I ask why you are looking for me?" The man in black cupped his hands and said, "I've been entrusted by someone to deliver something to you. Please come over here, young master." "What is it? Tell me first." Di Jishuan looked at the man suspiciously and thought, "Why does this line sound so much like those villains who kidnapped children in dramas? Little boy, come over here. Uncle has candy to eat." Thinking of this, he couldn't help but hesitate. Seeing Di Jishuan hesitate, the man said anxiously, "Little Lang Jun, are you afraid that I have bad intentions toward you? This is Yinhuang College, and their Yamacho is a master of martial arts. No matter how stupid I am, I won't do anything illegal here, right?" Di Jishuan thought about it and felt that the man in black was right. Moreover, the man in black looked righteous and didn't look like a villain. So he walked over carefully and, at the same time, he was ready to shout for help at any time. "Now, can you tell me what it is?" According to common sense, the man in front of him wouldn't make trouble, but Di Jishuan was still very vigilant. "Little Lang Jun, wait." The man in black reached into his arms as if he was taking something out. Di Jishuan's eyelids twitched, for he was afraid that the man was taking out a dagger or some other weapon. When he saw what the man took out, he couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief, because what he took out was not a weapon, but a small piece of paper the size of a palm. "Little Lang Jun, this is what my master asked me to give to you. Remember to destroy it after you read it, or it will bring you trouble. Since I've delivered it, I'll leave now. Little Lang Jun, we won't meet again." The black-clothed man handed the small piece of paper to Di Jishuan. After leaving behind a few words, he disappeared in the blink of an eye. "Hey, who is your master? What is written on it? Why do you want to destroy it after you read it? You haven't made it clear yet. Don't go." Di Jishuan was shocked. He wanted to stop the man and ask him what was going on, but when he looked up, there was not even a shadow in front of him. "Damn, what does this man mean? He left just like that? He didn't even make it clear?" Di Jishuan muttered in a low voice. Then he looked at the small, folded piece of paper in his hand and suddenly felt very conflicted. Should I read it or not? What if there is something disgraceful written in it? Then I can't clear my name even if I jump into the Yellow River. But what if it's not a heresy? Hey, let's take a peek. There's no one around anyway. In the end, Di Jishuan gritted his teeth, hid under a tree, and opened the piece of paper. He saw the words on it. One day, Xiaoming went to buy onions and asked the shop owner how much they cost per kilogram. The shop owner said that the price was 10 coins per kilogram. If he wanted 100 kilograms, it would be 1,000 coins, damn. Which lunatic has nothing better to do than to give me this kind of paper? Is this a story? Di Jishuan, who originally thought that it was a record of the romantic affairs of a court official, couldn't help but complain after reading the beginning. He resisted the urge to throw the paper away, took a deep breath, and continued reading. After reading it, his face changed. He slowly put away the paper and muttered to himself, "This title is very interesting. But who is so bored to send me such a note? What is the purpose? He also told me to destroy it after reading it. There are many things that don't make sense." Chapter 673. In the end, Di Jixuan was still full of questions. He tore the piece of paper into powder and returned to the examination room, where he had been in the morning to rest. In the afternoon, the second exam of Yanhuan College began on time with the sound of dang dang dang. Some people were anxious about this mathematics exam, while others were full of expectations. Especially Chung Chumo, Wang Ming, and Iron Egg, who were not good at studying classics but were good at mathematics. They were all looking forward to this afternoon's exam to make up for their shortcomings in the morning. They even hoped that today's exam questions would be more difficult, because only then could they, who were good at mathematics, widen the gap between them and the other candidates. However, reality did not develop as they expected. Li Zixuan's mathematics exam paper this time did not have so many tricky questions. Overall, this exam paper mainly tested the basic knowledge. In terms of difficulty, it was not even 30% as difficult as the monthly exam of the School of Mathematics. After all, for most of the candidates, even if they had self-studied mathematics for 2 months, their understanding of mathematics could not be compared to the students of the School of Mathematics who had been taught by famous teachers. Therefore, in order to take care of the majority of the students, Li Zixuan's mathematics exam paper was also greatly reduced in difficulty. However, this made the students of the School of Mathematics somewhat uncomfortable. Many people had clearly written the correct answer, but they could not help but doubt in their hearts. Was this question really that easy? Were there really no traps in it? You cannot blame them for being suspicious. In the past, they were afraid of all kinds of traps in Li Zixuan's exam papers. Did Xiaoxian change his personality this time? Why are the questions so easy? It didn't take long for Chung Chumo to finish the 10 fill-in-the-blank questions. He was so fast that he started to doubt himself. Fortunately, this idiot still had some self-awareness and didn't think that it was because he was too good at mathematics. On the other side, Iron Egg was also puzzled. He had finished 2 big questions at this time, but there was no pride or joy on his face. Instead, he was puzzled in his heart. What's wrong with these questions? Why are they all basic questions in the textbook? If the rest of the exam is as difficult as this, I'm not sure about the other candidates, but the student from the School of Mathematics will definitely score more than 90 points. Bruiser was not exaggerating. It was just that when Li Zixuan was teaching in the School of Mathematics, they were the most hardworking, the happiest, and the most effective. During that time, everyone was competing with each other and working hard to learn. Even the few students with the worst grades were considered to be above average among the 2,000 or so examinees now. In fact, this was indeed the case. Looking at the examinees in the other examination halls, no one could compare to the top students of the School of Mathematics. Most of them could not even compare to Chung Chumo. This was where the difference in learning effects between self-study and the guidance of a great teacher was reflected. Phew, it's still considered smooth. You should be almost halfway done. Fortunately, there aren't any difficult questions. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to finish them in 4 hours. In examination hall number 51, Di Jixuan wiped the sweat from his forehead and thought to himself. The difficulty of this set of exam papers was just right for him. Although he did not have a firm grasp of many of the knowledge points and could not remember clearly, he could still recall them if he spent some time thinking about it. After stumbling along the way, he finally finished half of the exam questions in 2 hours. Gradually, as time passed, the afternoon mathematics exam gradually came to an end. Di Jixuan finally solved the last question. Almost out of habit, he first looked at the score of this question. When he saw it, he was immediately stunned. Damn it, this question is actually worth 20 points? Damn it, if I had known, I wouldn't have fought so hard with that equation in front of me. 20 points. My 20 points. Di Jixuan wailed crazily in his heart because there were less than 15 minutes left before the end of the exam. He felt that it was simply impossible to solve the last question in such a short time. Di Jixuan, who was dejected, glanced at the last question with the mentality of so be it. Then he was stunned again. Oh, God, this question. He saw that the question said, one day, Xiaoming went to buy onions and asked the shop owner how much they cost per caddy. The shop owner said that the price was 10 copper coins per caddy, and the price was 1,000 copper coins per caddy. Xiaoming then asked the shop owner if he could sell the white onions and the green onions separately. The shop owner said that the white onions were 7 copper coins per caddy, and the green onions were 3 copper coins per caddy. In the end, Xiaoming bought 25 caddies of the white onions and 25 caddies of the green onions. In the end, 50 times 7 for the white onions was 350 copper coins, and 50 times 3 for the green onions was 150 copper coins, which added up to 500 copper coins. Xiaoming gave the shop owner 500 copper coins and left. Why do you think this is? The reason why Di Jixuan was so shocked was that the content of the note given to him by the man in black was exactly the same as this question. There was even an answer on the note. At that time, he thought that the question was very interesting and the answer was very unexpected. Who knew that he would encounter the exact same question during the exam? Was there anything more bizarre than this? There is not much time left. Write down the answer first, and we will talk about the rest later. Seeing that there were people handing in their test papers in the classroom, Di Jixuan had no time to think about other things. He quickly wrote down the answers that he had seen before on the test paper. After he finished writing, he even had time to check it again. Logically speaking, if he hadn't seen the correct answer before, it was absolutely impossible for him to write it down in such a short time. Oh, who on earth gave me the question and the answer on purpose? Who has such a great ability? This is the entrance exam of Yanhuang College. Seeing that it was not time to hand in the paper, Di Jixuan began to analyze the background of the man in black. After thinking for a long time, he couldn't think of who had such a great ability to get the question. Inadvertently, he glanced at the top of the paper and saw the words, Author, Lisa Xuan. His eyes instantly lit up, and his heart was suddenly enlightened. Damn it, could it be that little brother? Oh no, it should be Yamacho. Could it be that Yamacho asked someone to give me the question and the answer? Damn it, what a good person. Yamacho is really a good person. Di Jixuan sighed in his heart. He didn't feel guilty about cheating because in his mind, it was the Yamacho of Yanhuang College who asked him to cheat. Why should he feel guilty? Chapter 674. More than 2 hours ago, in the Suite du Hall, Dugu Xian, how's the thing I asked you to do going? Lier asked faintly. Dugu Xian cupped his hands and said, Your Majesty, I've already asked someone to personally deliver that piece of paper to Di Jixuan, and I saw him open it with my own eyes. Lier nodded and said, Not bad. This question is worth 20 points, and mathematics takes up 50% of the weight of the entire exam. In other words, I've increased Di Jixuan's total score by 10 points. Now he should have no problem getting into Yanhuang College, right? Dugu Xian sweated profusely. In the past, he would never have thought that Lier would do such a boring thing. But now that things had come to this, he could only accept the reality. Hearing Lier's question, he hurriedly replied, I've heard that the fifth son of Secretary D has been extraordinarily intelligent since he was young. Under Secretary D's urging, he was already familiar with the classics and history when he was 8 years old. I'm sure the entrance exam of Yanhuang College won't be a problem for him. Now that he has Your Majesty's help, he'll definitely get in. When Lier heard that, his face instantly revealed an expression of, my evil scheme has succeeded. He chuckled and said, Now Di Xiaoxiu still has the face to say that engineering is a miscellaneous subject, right? Now his own son is also involved. Is this still the wise and mighty Tang Emperor who doesn't show his emotions on his face? Dugu Xian was a little dumbfounded. Li Zixuan used the questions and answers given by Lier to help Di Jixuan cheat. This kind of strange and illogical thing, Li Zixuan, the person involved, would never have thought of it. At this time, he didn't have time to care about this, because the entrance exam of Yanhuang College had already ended. He let the examinees go back to rest first. The day after tomorrow, the college would release the results on time. The students who passed the exam would need to attend the opening ceremony of Yanhuang College in the afternoon. After that, they would have 2 days off to prepare for the admission. Of course, this arrangement also meant that all the teachers in the academy would be in a race against time to mark the papers. They would not have a moment of leisure. In order to ensure absolute fairness and impartiality, the grading of the papers needed to be done. After that, Li Zishuan distributed the papers for the classics and moral test to the teachers of the economics department and the geography department. The papers for the mathematics department were distributed to the teachers of the mathematics department, the physics department, and the chemistry department. As for the answers and grading standards, Li Zishuan had already asked each of them to copy a copy. There shouldn't be any problems with grading the papers according to the answers and grading standards, right? Moreover, after marking the test papers, there would be someone to check them again. If there were any objections, they would be handed over to Li Zishuan to judge them personally. In this way, the probability of misjudgment would be minimized. Gentlemen, there are a total of more than 4,000 test papers this time, but we only have 1 day and 2 nights. The task is very important, but there is no other way. The academy has a very important task at the back. We have to start school as soon as possible, so I'll have to trouble you. Furthermore, before I finish marking the papers, I will be busy with all of you at the academy. Let's start working now. Group leaders of each department, pay attention to the distribution of work. In the conference room, more than 70 classrooms were gathered together. Li Zishuan looked at them and said in a clear voice, more than 4,000 test papers corresponded to more than 70 people. The workload of each person was quite large. No wonder Li Zishuan was so serious about sharing the joys and sorrows with them. Yes, Yamacho. The 5 group leaders of Yanhuang College's 5 major departments answered in unison. The rest of the teachers also puffed out their chests and showed a firm expression. Most of them were attracted by Yanhuang College's generous treatment at the beginning. They were not optimistic about the future of this civilian academy. However, after seeing so many students coming to Yanhuang College's examination today, a sense of pride and responsibility rose in their hearts. Everyone had dreams. Everyone wanted to make a name for themselves and leave a mark for generations to come. Li Zishuan waved his hand, and the teachers of the academy immediately went into a busy state. They had to work for a while before the sky turned dark. After all, there were so many of them at night, and they could not mark the papers together because the candlelight was too weak. On the other hand, after Di Xiaoxiu finished his examination, he had been wondering if he should go home. He had been fooling around in the academy. In the end, a follower of the school of Mo in the academy could not stand it anymore and asked him why he was fooling around in the academy. Of course, that was not his original words. Only then did Di Zhishuan leave the academy unhappily. Looking in the direction of Chang, and Di Zhishuan's expression changed. After some time, he said tragically, I can hide for a while, but I can't hide for a lifetime. What will come will come. Go back. If the old man wants to deal with me, let him deal with me. After saying that, he strode forward as if he was going to the execution ground. Under the setting sun, his shadow was elongated, and he looked a little sad. 45 minutes later, he finally entered Chang'an City. He encouraged himself and then walked in the direction of the D family. After a while, the D family's residence appeared in front of him. Di Zhishuan did not hesitate and walked directly to the gate of the D family's residence. Young master, young master. The scene where the guards of the D residence would swarm him and hand him over to his father did not happen. They only greeted Di Zhishuan and then continued to observe and listen to the surroundings. It was as if they did not know that Di Zhishuan had sneaked out of the residence today. Where's my father now? Di Zhishuan asked calmly. Since he had decided to go home, he had to face the anger of the old man. Besides, if the old man really wanted to do something to him, he could run away. At worst, he could run to Yanhuang College. He believed that with his performance in the exam, it would not be a problem for him to enter Yanhuang College. Old master is in the backyard. A gatekeeper bowed and answered, "Oh, I know." Di Jixuan waved his hand and walked to the backyard. When he entered the backyard, he saw Di Xiaoxiu playing chess alone under the pavilion. Was this the legendary game with him? "Jixuan, you're back? Come here." Just when Di Jixuan was hesitating, Di Xiaoxiu, who was playing chess in the pavilion, suddenly called out. Di Jixuan hurriedly replied, "Ah, father, I'm back." Di Xiaoxiu asked meaningfully, how was the exam today?" Hearing this, Di Jixuan felt strange. Logically speaking, his father should have beaten him up at this time. Why was he still chatting amiably with his father? Chapter 675. In the backyard of the D residence. Cough, cough. Father, I was wrong. I shouldn't have sneaked out to take the exam. Di Jixuan felt that something was wrong with Di Xiaoxiu's question. He guessed that his father was pretending to be weak on purpose, waiting for him to get carried away before giving him a fatal blow. Therefore, Di Jixuan didn't act rashly at this time. Instead, he admitted his mistake very cautiously. Di Xiaoxiu frowned. If it was any other time, he would definitely hit him. However, the warning that Li Er gave him in the morning still rang in his ears. He could only suppress the anger in his heart and said in a low voice, "Let's not talk about this first. This old man wants to know how you did on the exam today." Di Jixuan couldn't understand his father's meaning. He pondered for a moment and said, I didn't prepare well for the exam this time, so I didn't do very well on the exam." In his mind, his father didn't like him studying mathematics. If he told him that he did very well on the exam, wouldn't he be waiting for a beating? However, he was destined to miscalculate this time. When Di Xiaoxiu heard that his son didn't do well on the exam, he couldn't help but let out a long sigh of relief. Didn't that mean that he couldn't get into Yanhuang College? In that case, wouldn't the agreement that Li Er made with him in the morning be invalid? Then what did he have to worry about? Thinking of this, Di Xiaoxiu immediately changed his expression and said loudly, "Unfilial son, this old man repeatedly ordered you not to go out in these 3 days. In the end, you turned a deaf ear and insisted on doing things your own way. You actually took advantage of this old man's morning court to secretly run away from home and go to Yanhuang College to take the entrance exam. How preposterous! Housekeeper, quickly take out the family law." Di Jixuan was shocked. He stared in shock and said, "No, father. Father, didn't you just say that you wouldn't pursue the matter of me leaving the residence without permission? How can you go back on your words?" Di Xiaoxiu snorted and said, "When did this old man say that I wouldn't pursue the matter? Housekeeper, what are you waiting for? Quickly take out the family law. Bastard, you little brat, how dare you run away? Men, arrest him for this old man." Ganlu Palace. This son pays his respects to the emperor. When Li Er heard this, he put down the memorial in his hand and looked up with a smile. "Cheng Qian is here. Have a seat. I called you here because I have something to tell you." Li Chengxian gave his thanks and walked to the side to sit on the embroidered stool that the chamberlain had brought over. Then he looked towards Li Er and cupped his hands, asking, "Does Imperial Father have any orders for this son? I will do my best." Li Er waved his hand and said, "It's not a big deal. Chengxian, have you heard about the big exam at Yanhuang College today?" Li Chengxian didn't understand why Li Er would suddenly ask about this. He could only answer honestly, "Of course I know about this. I'm afraid that there aren't many in the entire Chong and city who don't know about this." Li Er nodded. A moment later, he said, "We actually ran into Di Xiaoxiu in the academy today. At that time, he was causing havoc in Yanhuang College." Li Chengxian asked curiously, "Secretary Di? As far as I know, Secretary Di has never had any conflicts with Yanhuang College. Why would he go and wreak havoc in the Yanhuang Academy today?" Li Er said with a gloomy expression. He didn't have any conflicts with Yanhuang College in the past, but today his youngest son secretly went behind his back to participate in Yanhuang College's entrance exam. Di Xiaoxiu discovered that his son was missing after the morning court assembly, so he went to Yanhuang College to ask for him. Although Secretary Di loves his son dearly, This will definitely affect the other examinees. I don't think it's appropriate. Li Chengxian thought for a moment and cupped his hands. Oomph. He loves his son dearly? Li Er snorted in dissatisfaction and continued. We could put Qin Ke and Ku Er in Yanhuang College. Don't tell me I don't love my son dearly. Is Di Xiaoxiu's son more precious than our son? We see that some people only know how to cling to the prejudice of their sex. And there are many such people. We didn't want Yanhuang College to develop so quickly, but now it seems. Li Chengxian's expression turned serious. He quickly stood up and said, Father, what do you want me to do? I will do my best. This was what it meant to fight a tiger with brothers, father and son soldiers. Before Li Er finished speaking, Li Chengxian roughly understood what Li Er meant. Li Er saw this and couldn't help but smile. Good. Actually, we wanted to let Yanhuang College slowly develop, but no one expected the first batch of students to apply for Yanhuang College to be so many. This means that many people still recognize Li Zishuan's engineering skills. Since we have such a good foundation, wouldn't it be a waste if we don't make good use of it? As far as we know, Yanhuang College will release the results the day after tomorrow. When that time comes, we will officially start school. We plan to appoint you as a supervisor and enter Yanhuang College in the name of supervisor. You will return to court a month later. Supervisor? Enter Yanhuang College? Li Chengxian was shocked when he heard this. It wasn't that he didn't want to go to Yanhuang College. Logically speaking, he should be the one who had the deepest relationship with Li Zishuan. Therefore, he should be the one who should go to Li Zishuan's Yanhuang College. However, Li Chengxian understood that as a country's heir, he couldn't go wherever he wanted. If he really went to Yanhuang College, there would definitely be many courtiers who would oppose it. Father, I'm afraid the courtiers won't. Li Chengxian hesitated. Li Er waved his hand and smiled. Don't worry, we're only sending you to supervise, not to enroll. We want to see who will oppose. Actually, things weren't as simple as Li Er said. The reason why he dared to do this was because several civil officials, led by Zhangsun Wuji, had sent their juniors to Yanhuang College. This showed that in the conflict between the sects and the country's interests, there were still many people who were willing to follow Li Er. Li Er was naturally aware of this point. That was why he made this decision. Your son accepts the decree. Although he didn't know where his father's confidence came from, Li Chengxian still agreed. And then Chengxian, go back and prepare. Li Er picked up his teacup and said calmly. Li Chengxian knew that this meant that he should leave. However, he suddenly thought of something and said, Father, I heard that in the first month of Yanhuang College, they will train all the students, just like how they train the army. The person who will be in charge of the training is Duke Yi. Li Er nodded. And there is indeed such a thing. What about it? Qin Xiong had personally told him about this before. He thought about it then. Since there was no war in the Tang Empire, there was no need for Qin Xiong to go to the battlefield. Thus, he agreed on the spot. However, he didn't know why Li Chengxian mentioned this now. Chapter 676. Inside the Ganlu Hall, Li Chengxian cupped his hands and said, Father, I'm worried that with Qingqua's constitution, she won't be able to withstand that kind of high-intensity training. However, the rules set by Xiao Xian can't be abolished because of him. Therefore, I want to use the name of supervising the studies to accompany Qin Ke to participate in the training. When the time comes, we can take care of each other. Hearing this, Li Er looked deeply at Li Chengxian. After a long time, he said word by word, approved. Li Chengxian bowed and said, Thank you, Father. Then I'll take my leave. Seeing that Li Er didn't object, Li Chengxian slowly left the hall. Li Er looked at Li Chengxian's back, and an imperceptible gratification flashed through the corner of his eyes. He then heard him mutter, Brothers are harmonious. Father is kind and son is filial. The golden age lasts forever. Chengxian has grown up. After a long time, he stood up and walked out of the hall with his hand behind his back. At the same time, he thought to himself, when Yanhuang College was just being built, there were always many voices of opposition both inside and outside the court. I also constantly balanced the various forces. However, today, Li Zixuan has already built the academy. Moreover, the number of students who applied for Yanhuan College far exceeded everyone's expectations. Since that's the case, then I'll continue to add fuel to the fire and have Chengxian personally go to Yanhuan College. Let's see if those people can wake up a little. Although Di Xiaoxu's matter today made Li Er angry, it made him understand one thing more. There were more than one person like Di Xiaoxu in the court. There were many Di Xiaoxu in the court. They were sectarian and looked down on engineering. Normally, they wouldn't show this kind of contempt because of their own power. However, once it involved their own interests, they would unreservedly reveal the contempt in their bones and put it into action. Lier had Li Chengxian go to the academy to express his attitude and show his support for Yanhuan College. Thinking about it, the country's heir had personally stayed at Yanhuan College. Who else would have a reason to dislike Yanhuan College? The next day, Li Zixuan woke up early. After eating the breakfast personally made by Han Yushi, he went straight to the academy. Last night, he stayed at the Yinshan residence. Because everyone in the academy was so busy that their feet didn't touch the ground, he couldn't return to Chang and to enjoy life alone. Right? If he really did that, the people's hearts might be scattered. In less than a quarter of an hour, Li Zixuan arrived at the gate of the Yanhuan Academy. He did not expect to meet the person he least wanted to meet. Ah, Yamacho, you're finally here. HH, you didn't even arrive earlier than me, and you still have the nerve to be a mountain chief. When Mo Lingwei saw Li Zixuan, she quickly walked over and greeted him with a smile. Of course, she only muttered the second half of her sentence softly and didn't say it out loud. However, she definitely didn't expect Li Zixuan to hear her word for word. This girl was wearing a lotus-colored gauze shirt today. Her waist-length hair was only gently tied up with a pink ribbon. She was really cute and charming. From afar, it seemed as if she was covered in mist. She really didn't belong to this world. What a pity. This girl is indeed good-looking, but she's a little unruly and difficult to deal with. Li Zixuan thought to himself. So it's the ink girl. What a coincidence. Li Zixuan pretended that he didn't hear the second half of Mo Lingwei's mocking words and chuckled. It's not a coincidence. I've been waiting for you here. Mo Lingwei blinked and smiled. Waiting for me? When Li Zixuan heard this, he couldn't help but rub his eyebrows. He had a headache and said, Ink girl, I've told you before. Whether you can come to Yanhuan College or not, I can't make the decision. You should go and find your father. I have to go and mark the papers for the students. He thought for a moment and knew why Mo Lingwei was waiting for him. Therefore, after he finished speaking, he hurriedly ran away. Hey, don't. Mo Lingwei opened her arms and blocked Li Zixuan's path. She said anxiously, I can help you mark the papers. As long as you help me convince my father, I'll mark as many papers as you want. Seeing this girl's bright and beautiful face full of sincerity, Li Zixuan couldn't help but ask, Ink girl, why are you so determined to come to Yanhuan College to teach? Mo Lingwei was speechless for a moment. She wanted to say that she wanted to be as good as him, but when the words reached her mouth, they became, everyone in the Mo family went to Yanhuan College. I'm the only one left. I'm bored at home alone. I don't want to learn needlework, because once I learn it, my father will definitely marry me off. Li Zixuan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. What kind of reason is this? You want to be a teacher because you're bored at home? Ink girl, I understand your desire to become a teacher, but this matter is not up to me. I can't persuade your father, so you should let me in first. Otherwise, it won't be good if the results are delayed tomorrow. Li Zixuan spread his hands and said helplessly, But I know how to do mathematics. Although it's not your new type of mathematics, I can learn it again. Let me tell you, in the Mo family, other than my father, I'm the best at mathematics. If you take me in, you'll have another capable person. Mo Lingwei widened her eyes and said unwillingly, Take me in? Li Zixuan's face was full of black lines. This brat is at it again. Doesn't she know how to watch her words? And I didn't expect Ink Girl to be so knowledgeable. However, The college doesn't lack mathematics teachers. Although Li Zixuan was surprised by Mo Lingwei's mathematics standards, he was still unmoved. Mo Lingwei was so angry that she almost lost her temper. But in the end, she held it back and took 2 deep breaths. She smiled sweetly and said, Then I also know how to investigate matter. Force light, I know what these are, and I also know how to use them. Didn't your physics class teach about these things? Li Zixuan raised his eyebrows and couldn't help but say, You even know these things? God knows how rare it is to meet a girl who knows physics in ancient times. Not to mention ancient times, even in modern times, more than half of the girls are not willing to learn physics. Mo Lingwei proudly raised her chin and snorted, Of course, I know a lot of things. If you take me in, I guarantee that you'll learn a lot. Hearing her say this, Li Zixuan was happy and subconsciously said, Then do you know how to drill wood to start a fire? Cough, cough. However, after saying this, Li Zixuan immediately regretted it. Chapter 677. Miss, do you know how to drill wood to start a fire? This was a phrase that Li Zixuan often saw on the bullet screen on a certain live streaming platform in his previous life. As for the origin of this phrase, it should have been said by a live streamer in the Saber section while he was flirting with girls online. Later on, this phrase was developed by the big bosses in the bullet screen to extend its meaning. As for the specific extended meaning, it should be possible to guess with a little thought. After all, drilling wood to start a fire relied on friction to generate heat. But no matter what, it was inappropriate for Li Zixuan to use this phrase to tease Mo Lingwei. After all, she was still a virgin. If Li Zixuan's mischievous words really caused some scandal, it wouldn't be good. Drilling wood to start a fire? I don't know how to do that, but I know how to use ice to start a fire. Isn't that awesome? Of course, Mo Lingwei didn't know the hidden meaning of drilling wood to start a fire. She frowned and thought for a while, then smiled sweetly. Using ice to start a fire? Miss, do you really know how to use ice to start a fire? It was unknown when Yin Xiaoning had suddenly appeared behind Li Zixuan as he exclaimed. Unlike Li Zixuan, Yin Xiaoning, as the chief engineer of Yanhuang College, usually stayed at the college during this period of time. Even if he had to go home at night, he would come very early the next morning. Therefore, Yin Xiaoning definitely contributed a lot to the rapid construction of Yanhuang College. Of course, I'm not bragging. Who are you? Mo Lingwei said proudly, then looked at Yin Xiaoning and asked. Yin Xiaoning was about to say something, but Li Zixuan immediately interrupted him. Cough, cough. Ink girl, let me introduce you. This is the son of the famous Minister of Works, Minister Yin. Brother Xiaoning's achievements in landscape architecture are deeply taught by Minister Yin. Don't you think that Yanhuang College is very impressive? This is built by Brother Xiaoning himself. Isn't it amazing? Li Zixuan wouldn't let go of this opportunity since it was rare for someone to take the bullet for him. He praised Yin Xiaoning as if he was the only genius in the world. Mo Lingwei turned her head to look at Yanhuang College before shifting her gaze back to Yin Xiaoning. Her eyes were filled with admiration. Wow, although you're a little ugly, you're pretty good. Compared to Li Zixuan, Yin Xiaoning's looks were indeed slightly inferior. However, Yin Xiaoning was definitely not ugly. Yin Xiaoning almost vomited blood when he heard that. No one liked being called ugly. If someone he knew said that to him, he would definitely retort. However, he did not know this girl in front of him. How could he have a nerve to retort? Moreover, he had to admit that this girl was quite pretty. Of course, our classmate, Yin Xiaoning, would never admit that the last one was the main reason. Cough, cough, cough. Xiaoning, this is the daughter of the Mo family's magnate. She's quite proficient in the Mo family's techniques. I think the two of you must have a lot in common. Well, you guys can chat first. I have to go in and grade the papers. Li Zixuan rolled his eyes and introduced Mo Lingwei to Yin Xiaoning. Then he used the cloud-piercing steps and disappeared instantly. What a joke. If he really wanted to run, there were not many people in Chang and City who could stop him. Li Zishuan left rather confidently, but he left behind a man and a woman staring at each other with their big eyes. Ink Girl, did you come to the academy for something? After a long, awkward silence, Yin Xiaoning took the initiative to ask. Mo Lingwei seemed to have felt that the atmosphere was a little strange. She bit her lips and said softly, "There's something, but it's nothing much." Yin Xiaoning was confused. What did she mean? After a long while, he said, "We can't just stand here like this. Why don't I bring you to my office to take a look?" "You have an office?" Mo Lingwei tilted her head and thought for a while before asking curiously. It wasn't like she hadn't been to Yanhuang College. Of course, she knew what an office was. It was because she knew that she was so surprised, because in Yanhuang College, only teachers like her father who were team leaders and above had their own offices. She didn't expect Yin Xiaoning to have his own office in Yanhuang College at such a young age. "Hey, of course. Let's go. I'll bring you to take a look." Yin Xiaoning finally found something to be proud of in front of a beauty. He said proudly. His office was on the 9th floor to the left of the Guanghua building. On the right of the 10th floor was Li Zishuan's office. The left of the 10th floor was obviously reserved for Li Zishuan. After all, the left was the most respected at this time. They still had to give Li Zishuan some face. No. My father doesn't like me going to the college all the time. If he sees me, he'll definitely be unhappy. Mo Lingwei was about to follow Yin Xiaoning in when she suddenly thought of Mo Huai. Her expression instantly darkened as she angrily kicked the pebbles on the ground with the tip of her foot and said, "Why is that?" Yin Xiaoning, who had always been lacking in EQ, found it hard to understand. He was puzzled. "Isn't it because I'm a girl?" Mo Lingwei rolled her eyes and said angrily. Yin Xiaoning seemed to have understood something. He thought for a while and said, "It's okay. Ink Girl, don't worry and go in. If Mr. Mo asks, I'll say that I invited you over to study how to drill wood to start fire. To study how to use ice to start a fire." Yin Xiaoning made a slip of the tongue and almost said drilling wood to start fire. Although he didn't know what the joke was, judging from Li Zishuan's embarrassed expression just now, these 4 words were obviously not as simple as they seemed. Okay. Then it's settled. I'll teach you how to use ice to start a fire. You'll have to help me explain it to my father. Okay? Mo Lingwei's eyes lit up when she heard that, and she instantly giggled happily. She was originally full of talent and knowledge, but Li Zishuan completely ignored her and avoided her like the plague. This made her angry and helpless. Now, it was rare for someone as good as Li Zishuan to acknowledge her and was even willing to help her persuade her father. Of course, she was happy. Yin Xiaoning naturally agreed. Thus, the 2 young men and women who met for the first time didn't even exchange 20 sentences in total before they went to the office together. Yes, the office. Li Zishuan would never have thought that the engineering genius Yin Xiaoning, who had always had a negative EQ, would be so extraordinarily effective in flirting with girls, even though his flirting methods seemed clumsy. He had to admit that this was a true flirting expert. Chapter 678. Yamacho, is there a problem with the grading criteria? Li Zishuan had chatted with Mo Lingwei for a long time at the entrance of the academy. When he arrived at the academy, he found that the teachers of the academy had already begun grading the papers in the office. When he passed by the geography department's office, Tang, who was inside, hurriedly ran out and asked. Li Zishuan paused and asked subconsciously, "What's the problem? Let me see." Tang handed the paper in his hand to Li Zishuan and said, "This is the grading criteria for the moral character test. Yamacho, why did you specify that the scores for each choice are different? For example, in the first question, why did those who chose Xiongzhou only get 1 point, Xiangzhou 2 points, Bingzhou 3 points, Luoyang 4 points, and Chang 5 points?" Li Zishuan looked at Tang strangely and answered matter-of-factly, "If a person only wants to be content with a small corner and doesn't dare to go to a big city to work hard and gain experience, why would our Yanhuang College want such a timid person?" Tang was stunned, but he couldn't help but ask, But, but Yamacho, you said on the question that there is no right or wrong choice. Li Zishuan nodded and said, yes, there is no right choice. So, no matter what they choose, they will get a point. Tang Yu opened his mouth and said unhappily, but the question also said that there is no right or wrong choice. Li Zishuan was speechless. If it weren't for the wrong occasion, he would have grabbed Tang Yu and said to everyone, come on, there's an honest person here. Everyone come and bully him. Glancing into the office, Li Zishuan found that although many people were grading the papers on the surface, their eyes were always inadvertently glancing over. Obviously, Tang Yu was not the only honest person. He thought for a moment and said, if I didn't write this in the question, how could the examinees answer the questions according to their true thoughts? Tang Yu. He didn't know if he should curse in his heart. Not only Tang Yu, but all the teachers in the geography department's office were completely dumbfounded. They didn't expect Li Zishuan, Yamacho, to be so shameless. But, Yamacho, aren't you lying? As a teacher, how can I set a bad example for my students? Seeing that Li Zishuan was about to leave, Tang Yu mustered up his courage and shouted. Li Zishuan paused. The teachers in the office held their breaths and couldn't help swallowing. They thought to themselves, Tang Yu is probably finished this time. How dare he talk to Yamacho like that? However, the reality was not as they had imagined. Li Zishuan did not get angry. Instead, he smiled and said, if I don't lie to them, won't they lie to me on the test paper in order to get high marks? It's also a lie, but my lie is to prevent these thousands of students from lying. Mr. Tang, don't you think it's necessary for me to tell this lie? Hearing this, Tang Yu was speechless. Seeing that Tang Yu had nothing to say, Li Zishuan smiled and turned to leave. In fact, this guy himself somewhat admired what he had just said. The reason was very strong, so strong that no one could refute it. At the same time, in the imperial court of Taiji Palace. Obviously, the morning court had been going on for some time. At this time, Li Er looked at the ministers and said lightly, Yanhuang College has just opened. I want to appoint the Crown Prince as the superintendent. In the name of the superintendent, I will inspect Yanhuang College for a month. What do you think? His tone was rather flat, but the content was not flat at all. When the ministers in the hall heard this, they immediately burst into an uproar, whispering to each other in private. Only Zhang Sun Wuji, Fang Xianling, and a few others remained expressionless. Your Majesty, I think this is inappropriate. Minister Cui Shanyu of the Honglu Temple stepped forward and bowed to Li Er. Li Er raised his eyebrows and asked in a deep voice, what's inappropriate? Hearing that Li Er's tone was a little unfriendly, Cui Shanyu trembled and a trace of cold sweat appeared on his forehead. However, he still forced himself to say, the Crown Prince is the heir of a country, but Yanhuang College is a place to teach engineering. I'm afraid this will shake people's hearts. Li Er's face was gloomy and said, then tell me, whose heart did I shake? This, Cui Shanyu was suddenly speechless. The ministers in the hall were suddenly silent. At this time, they understood that Li Er did not come with good intentions today. The matter of sending Li Changxian to the Yanhuang Academy was more of a notice than a discussion between Li Er and them. This was because there seemed to be no room for discussion. You won't say? Then I'll say it for you. Seeing that Cui Shanyu lowered his head and did not dare to speak, Li Er suddenly stood up and pointed at Cui Shanyu, saying, you said my actions will shake people's hearts. I guess you think I'm shaking the roots of Confucianism, shaking the foundations of the aristocratic families. Cough, cough. Let's not talk about gays. Old Li has committed a taboo. I've already said in the court that as long as it's useful to my Tang Dynasty and can make my Tang Dynasty stronger, I'm willing to accept it. I have no intention of stirring up a dispute between schools of thought. Confucianism has always been orthodox. In comparison, engineering is only a tool to make the country stronger. I'm letting Changxian go to Yanhuang College to let him go to the sword of the world that is engineering, so that he can fully use it in the future to make my Tang Dynasty stronger. However, some of you keep thinking that I'm shaking the foundations of Confucianism. Do you understand that first there is the country, then there will be Confucianism and engineering? Cui Shanyu, You're my minister first, then you're a disciple of Confucianism. If there comes a day when the Tang dynasty is weak and falls into the hands of other races, where can Confucianism spread? Don't tell me you want us to be the dogs of other races that enslave us Han people. These familiar words were basically used by Li Er to reprimand Di Xiaoshu yesterday. Today, Di Xiaoshu did not come because Li Er punished him to reflect on his mistakes in isolation for a month. Otherwise, old man Di would definitely find it very familiar. This old minister does not dare. Di Xiaoshu might have heard these words, but Cui Shanyu had not. All the ministers in the court had not heard of it either. Therefore, when Li Er said these harsh words, the entire court was so silent that one could hear a pin drop. Cui Shanyu was sweating profusely as he bowed and asked for forgiveness. This subject is terrified. The other ministers also cupped their hands and said. Li Er snorted and waved his sleeves, saying, I've decided. Cheng Qian will prepare to supervise Yanhuang College starting tomorrow and return to court in a month. This subject obeys the decree. Li Chengxian bowed and said, Dear ministers, if you have something to report, court is dismissed. Li Er said coldly. Everyone saw that he was unhappy. Moreover, in today's morning court, the head of the civil officials, Zhangsun Wuji, Fang Xianling, Duru Hui, and the others did not say anything. They did not dare to persuade him anymore, and could only give up. Court is dismissed. Seeing this, the eunuch holding the brush sensibly called out. All the ministers bowed and saluted. Li Er waved his hand and turned to leave. Chapter 679. The news of Li Er allowing Li Chengxian to stay in Yanhuang College for a month caused quite a stir among the upper echelons of Tang Dynasty. After all, the crown prince was the heir to the throne. His actions would directly affect the future direction of the empire. Didn't they, as officials, want to confer titles to their wives and children to ensure that their families would continue to prosper? If they couldn't grasp the thoughts of the emperor and grasp the future direction of the imperial court, then their families might fall behind or even be pushed out of the imperial court. Thus, after the morning assembly, many people gathered at Zhangsun Wuji's house. Old Master, Assistant Minister He from the Ministry of Personnel, Assistant Minister Yuan from the Ministry of Civil Affairs, Junior Supervisor Huang from the Ministry of Secretaries, and Assistant Minister Zhang from the Taifu Temple are outside the residence seeking an audience. In the Duke Zhao residence, a middle-aged man who looked like a servant came to the study and reported with a bow. Zhangsun Wuji frowned. After pondering for a moment, he said, Don't see them. Tell them that I'm tired and ask them to return to their own duties. Don't let down the emperor's trust in them, and don't become the emperor's stumbling block. Yes, old master. The servant bowed and received the order before slowly retreating. Father, why did you? After the servant left, Zhangsun Chong couldn't help but ask. Zhangsun Wuji waved his hand and interrupted. You don't have to care about this. Chong, or let father ask you. How do you feel about the Yanhuang College examination this time? Do you have the confidence to pass? Zhangsun Chong was taken aback. With an embarrassed expression, he said weakly, Father, I'm confident that I can get full marks for this examination. However, I'm not sure about the moral character test and mathematics test. Now, I don't know the correct answer, so I don't dare to say that I have the confidence to pass the examination to Yanhuang College. Moral character test? This was something that was mentioned on Datong daily before. Thus, Zhangsun Wuji had some impression of it. He frowned and said, What's there to be uncertain about? Don't tell me you're afraid that Li Zishuan won't be able to pass with your character? Tell father, what questions are there? Yes, father. Zhangsun Chong made a sound of agreement. Then he recalled a little and said, I remember that the moral character test questions said that there was no right or wrong, good or bad choices in all the questions. Please choose according to your own real situation. Even so, I had my doubts at the time. The first question should be like this. Which city do you think you would prefer to live in? A. Cheongzhou B, Xiangzhou C, Bingzhou D, Luoyang E, Chang. Zhang Sun Wuji's frown deepened. Even though he was well-versed in history and had read through all the weird questions in the various dynasties, he had never seen such a weird question before. Chongra, what did you choose? After pondering for a moment, Zhang Sun Wuji asked. I've lived in Chang, and since I was young. Of course, I'd choose Chang'an. Zhang Sun Chong said matter-of-factly. Zhang Sun Wuji, then tell me about the second question. Zhang Sun Chong nodded and said, the second question is, if you could become one of the following creatures, which one would you like to be? A. Cat B, horse C, elephant D, monkey E, dog F, tiger. Back then, I chose tiger because the first few choices were too unbearable. Zhang Sun Wuji was enlightened and said, I understand now. That question said that all the choices are not good or bad, right or wrong. It's all bullshit asterisk T. Li Zishuan, this brat, is brilliant. He's testing your hearts. He wants all of you to put down your guard so that you can show your truest side to him. Then, he can choose the person he wants from among you. I've underestimated this person. SSSS. Then, father, is there any problem with my choice? Hearing how terrifying his father's words were, Zhang Sun Chong took in a deep breath of cold air and quickly asked. Zhang Sun Wuji shook his head and said in a deep voice, based on your nature, it's definitely not a problem for you to pass this moral test. I'm just a little surprised. Li Zishuan's temperament, methods, martial arts, and abilities are all the most outstanding in your generation. Such a person, you can either be friends with him or be enemies with him. Then, you must get rid of him as soon as possible. Otherwise, when I'm old, which one of you can be his opponent? Zhang Sun Chong's heart trembled. He quickly lowered his head and didn't dare to say another word. Suddenly, Zhang Sun Wuji smiled and said, I didn't say that I have to be enemies with him. Chong, when you go to Yanhuan College, see if you can get along well with him. It'll be good if you can, but it's fine if you can't. Our Zhang Sun family has no reason to be afraid of him. It's just that the current emperor's thoughts are always on that kid. Now that times have changed, it might not be a bad thing for you to get in touch with engineering. Besides, the Crown Prince and Prince Wei are also in Yanhuan College. Zhang Sun Chong clasped his hands and said, Yes, father. I understand. N. Go and do your work. Zhang Sun Wuji said indifferently. Zhang Sun Chong responded and left the study room, leaving Zhang Sun Wuji alone with his eyes closed. To a certain extent, Zhang Sun Wuji was definitely not a defender of Confucianism. He only cared about his own interests. As for which school was the orthodox, he didn't care at all. He was a pure egoist. Thus, when he noticed that Li Er had the intention to raise the status of engineering in Yanhuan College, Zhang Sun Wuji didn't hesitate to throw out his olive branch and send his son to Yanhuan College. This was the foresight of an old fox. When the other court officials reacted, Zhang Sun Wuji had already walked further and further away from the path of treason. Furthermore, he benefited greatly from it. He would forever be the man who ate the fish head and body. As for the fish tail, it was naturally left for those short-sighted people to eat. Brother Crown Prince, I heard that you are also going to Yanhuan College? Eastern Palace. Li Changxian had just returned from the morning assembly and rested for a short while when Changle came to his door and asked, Yo, Changle, when did you start to care about court politics? You got the news so quickly. Li Changxian couldn't help but rub his sister's head and laugh. Changle slapped Li Changxian's hand away and said unhappily, Changle doesn't care about court politics. That's your men's business. I only heard that Brother Crown Prince is also going to Yanhuan College, so I came to ask. Oh, Li Changxian replied with an oh. Then he smiled and explained, You can't say that I'm going to Yanhuan College. After all, I have to return to the palace in a month. I can't stay in Yanhuan College forever like Qingke. So that's the case. Changle suddenly understood. Then, the little girl said with some worry, But if that's the case, Changle will be left alone in the palace. It's so boring. P.S. Not included in total word count, looking for subscriptions, looking for monthly votes. My brothers all said that the updates these 2 days weren't good. Actually, the subscriptions are the worst. Looking at the rapid drop in subscriptions every day, it's already not easy for swordsmen to still be able to update 3 or 4 times a day. In the past, they would always update 2 times a day. So, friends who read pirated versions, please come back and subscribe. It's just a few cents. Everyone's support is the motivation for swordsmen to work hard to update. Thank you. Chapter 680. In the East Palace. Li Chengxian couldn't bear to see Changle's pitiful look. Besides, what she said was indeed reasonable. Now that he, Li Tai, and Li Ku had all gone to Yanhuang College, there were basically no people of the same age who could play with Changle in the palace. So he thought for a while and said, Yanhuang Academy will have a military training next month. Father must like it very much. Changle, you can ask Father to take you along to have fun. Won't that be enough? Hearing this, Changle's eyes suddenly curved into small crescents. She nodded happily and said, Yes, yes, thank you, Brother Crown Prince. After saying that, the little girl turned and left. Li Chengxian looked at Changle's back and pinched his chin thoughtfully. Crown Prince is going to live in Yanhuang College? In the D Mansion. It was almost noon when Di Xiaoxiu, who was thinking about his mistakes behind closed doors at home, received the news. He muttered to himself alone under the pavilion in the courtyard. It's getting harder and harder to guess His Majesty's thoughts now. If Crown Prince really goes to Yanhuang College, then the status of engineering in Yanhuang College. Thinking of this, Di Xiaoxiu ordered in a low voice, Let Zhixuan come here. Yes, master. The servant next to him hurriedly bowed and received the order. About a quarter of an hour later, Di Zhixuan came over sleepily. Oh, father, I heard that you called me. Di Zhixuan said listlessly. Di Xiaoxiu, who was about to get down to business, couldn't help but frown when he saw his son like this. He said, What time is it now? Did you just get up? Anyway, he had just been beaten up yesterday, so now Di Zhixuan was even more thick-skinned. He looked like a dead pig that was not afraid of boiling water and said, Father, you don't let me go out. What can I do now except sleep at home? He had planned to go to Yanhuang College tomorrow to see the results, but Di Xiaoxiu had just been grounded by Li Er yesterday. After knowing that this bastard of a son still had such thoughts, he immediately added 2 more days of confinement to Di Zhixuan. Of course, this wasn't the only reason why he woke up so late. It was because he had stayed up all night reading novels. Di Zhixuan had been preparing for the exam of Yanhuang College for the past 2 months, so he had put aside the legend of a mortal's journey to immortality that he had been reading. After the exam yesterday, of course, he would take out the mortal that he had been keeping for so long and continue reading. In the end, Di Zhixuan was completely dumbfounded when he saw it. F***CK. What the hell is with 15 pages of mortal in every issue of the newspaper? Is this Leather Knight crazy? He then glanced at the other issues of the newspaper. In the end, each issue had 15 chapters. After more than 2 months, he had accumulated nearly 1,000 chapters. 1,000 chapters. At that moment, Di Zhixuan felt that he was going crazy. He was so happy that he even forgot that he had been beaten up. He immediately immersed himself in the world of mortals. The candlelight in the side room of the rear courtyard of the D residence had been lit for the entire night. It wasn't that Di Zhixuan didn't want to sleep. He was also sleepy. However, mortals was getting more and more exciting as it went on. He couldn't bear to sleep at all. It wasn't until dawn that he couldn't take it anymore and fell into a deep sleep. Even so, Di Zhixuan still had more than 800 chapters to read. Don't compare the speed of most modern people to the ancients. Modern ebooks turn pages very quickly. The ancients definitely couldn't compare with the speed of reading. At this moment, when he heard Di Zhixuan's words, Di Xiaoxiu was suddenly speechless. He pointed at his unfilial son and was so angry that he couldn't say a word for a long time. After a while, Old Man Di calmed down and directly talked about business. I called you here to ask you if you really don't have the confidence to get into Yanhuang College. Di Zhixuan was stunned and thought, why is it this question again? Could it be that my father wants to find an excuse to beat me up again? I won't give him a chance. Father, I was afraid that you would be angry yesterday, so I deliberately said that I didn't do well in the exam. Actually, I did quite well this time. Di Jixuan was thinking that he was beaten up yesterday when he said that he didn't do well in the exam. So, if he said that he did well today, he wouldn't be beaten up, right? If he was beaten up again, then he could only say that his father was deliberately targeting him. What? You said that you did well in the exam this time? That means that you are very likely to get into Yanhuang College? Di Xiaoxu's expression changed drastically when he heard this. It wasn't that he became gloomy, but that he became extremely complicated. There was shock, excitement, and even a trace of fear. Anyway, as long as Di Jixuan could remember, he had never seen his father show so many expressions on his face at the same time. Yes, Father, what's wrong? Di Jixuan took 2 steps back and kept a safe distance from Di Xiaoxiu. Then he asked in confusion, Phew, son, well, I shouldn't have punished you yesterday. Since you're now confident that you can get into Yanhuang College, then you should prepare well. Di Xiaoxiu's expression changed. In the end, he became a kind and gentle father as he smiled gently at Di Jixuan. However, this sonner scared Di Jixuan quite a bit. He shook his head and secretly pinched his thigh. After confirming that he wasn't in a dream, Di Jixuan asked in confusion, Father, what do you want me to prepare? Di Xiaoxiu, prepare to enter the college, of course. Di Jixuan widened his eyes and said in disbelief, Father, didn't you say that you didn't want me to go to Yanhuang College? Di Xiaoxiu's face immediately became a little unnatural. He stroked his beard and said, Father has thought it through. Since Sonner wants to go to Yanhuang College so much, Father will fulfill your wish. It's not impossible for you to study mathematics and become an official in the future. Di Jixuan turned around and looked at the sun in the sky. Di Xiaoxiu was puzzled and asked, Sonner, what are you looking at? Di Jixuan swallowed and said, I've already confirmed that I'm not dreaming, so I want to see if the sun rises from the west today. Di Xiaoxiu was so angry that smoke was coming out of his 7 orifices. He almost scolded him as an unfilial son again, but he forced himself not to say those 2 words. Di Jixuan said awkwardly, Cough, cough, cough. Father, don't be angry. I'm just joking. Di Xiaoxiu glared at his son. Suddenly, he remembered something and said quickly, Oh, right, son? Don't tell anyone about the punishment I gave you yesterday. This old man will tell the servants later. Do you understand? Why? Di Jixuan naturally wouldn't tell anyone about this embarrassing incident, but he was still a little curious as to why his father would specifically tell him about it. Di Xiaoxiu pursed his lips and pondered for a while. Then he said, Don't wash your dirty linen in public. Chapter 681. Yanhuang College Noon. Mr. Yin, how's the progress of grading the various departments' papers? Can you finish all of them before nightfall? In the conference room, Li Zixuan asked while eating. He had long forgotten about not talking while eating and sleeping. Oh, probably less than 50%. I think I can finish it before nightfall if I hurry up. Yin Silu was not as rude as Li Zixuan. After swallowing the food in his mouth, he spoke unhurriedly. The busiest people in the morning were Li Zixuan, Li Gang, Yin Silu, Su Hongji, Xiao Dian, and Mo Huai, who were eating in the conference room. Not only did they have to grade the papers themselves, but they also had to do a good job of coordinating and directing in order to maximize efficiency. They could not even spare time for lunch. It was Mo Zhong and Mo Yun who helped them bring the food back from the cafeteria. However, Li Zixuan was a little too much. The food he ate was specially cooked for him by Han Yushi. Naturally, it was not comparable to the big pot of rice in the cafeteria. The tempting color and rich aroma made even Li Gang unable to resist picking up a few pieces with his chopsticks. Well, this speed is not good. Not only do we have to finish grading the papers today, but we also have to tally all the students' results. Then, the workshop can rush the list overnight. How about this? I'll hurry up in the afternoon. Mr. Yin, take a look at which department has the most papers backlogged. When the time comes, you can send some of them to me. Li Zixuan thought about it and felt that it was still too slow. Thus, he said to Yin Silu, obviously, this guy was ready to cheat. He spent most of the morning assigning tasks to the various departments. But now he felt that it would be better to hand over the command to Li Gang and Yin Silu and go down to the underground to cheat himself. With his speed, he could do the work of 10 people. Yin Silu was silent for a moment and finally nodded. Okay. I'm old. I'm not as energetic as a young man like you. But don't force yourself. Your health is the most important. At this moment, Li Gang said with a smile. Li Zishuan nodded. Don't worry, Mr. Li. I know what I'm doing. What? The Crown Prince is also coming to Yanhuang College? After lunch, Li Zishuan didn't take a break. He went back to his office with a stack of test papers that Yin Silu gave him. As for why he didn't grade with the other teachers, it was entirely because he was afraid that his abnormal grading speed would frighten others. After a while, Pang Feiji walked in quietly and told him a very important piece of news. Yes, Lord Zhu. This happened in the morning court. Anyone in Chang, and who is slightly well-informed, knows about it. Pang Feiji bowed and replied. Li Zishuan stopped writing and frowned. After a while, he said, Okay, I got it. Feiji, you can go and do your work. This subordinate will take his leave. Pang Feiji cupped his hands and slowly left. In the office, Li Zishuan rubbed his head. It was hard to tell whether he was happy or sad. He muttered, The tree wants to be quiet, but the wind won't stop. Is Old Li helping me? Or is he purposely causing trouble? How are you confident about this exam? I heard that Yanhuang College had more than 2,000 examinees taking the exam yesterday. South of Chang and City, Gi Lane, Meng family's courtyard. Mother Meng saw that Meng Wenhao didn't seem worried at all. He was even helping Yaya modify the scooter that they bought from the workshop. She couldn't help but ask. Meng Wenhao patted his little sister's head, then turned to his mother and said, Mother, I've never worried about whether or not I can pass the exam. I'm only thinking about my ranking this time. Although there were a lot of examinees yesterday, the questions set by Mr. Meng gave me a huge advantage. Mother, you don't have to worry anymore. Meng Wenhao had been working as an accountant for more than a month at Minister Hu's house. He had earned a lot of money, so the Meng family situation had improved a lot. That was why Yaya had a scooter to play with. However, because of Hu Qingwan, Meng Wenhao still persuaded his mother, who had been working at Minister Hu's house, to leave the Hu family. In his opinion, since he wasn't interested in Hu Qingwan, he shouldn't provoke her and cause her to think about him. In the end, it would be even more hurtful to her. But Howard, you didn't have much time to revise for the past 2 months. Now that you've left the Imperial College, if you still can't get into Yanhuang College, then you'll have no way out. As the saying goes, one's mind is clouded by concern. Thinking of Meng Wenhao's previous revision time and current situation, Mother Meng was still very worried. Meng Wenhao smiled slightly and very patiently comforted her. Mother, although I worked at Minister Hu's house for more than a month and helped out at the college for more than 10 days, I didn't fall behind in my homework. You don't have to worry anymore. Tomorrow, the college will release the results. Just wait and see. Your son will definitely win glory for you and father. Mother Meng calmed down a lot when she saw her son being so confident. She smiled and said, As long as you can get in, it's fine. At first, I thought that Yanhuang College was a rundown college that no one wanted to go to. I didn't expect it to be so popular today. Not only did all the scholars in the Tang Dynasty come, but I also heard that the sons of Wei Wang, Han Wang, Duke Zhao, and Master Feng all went to take the exam yesterday. My Hauer has good taste. Meng Wenhao heard this and laughed. Mother, you don't have to believe me, but you can't not believe Mr. Li. He has always been a person who is good at creating miracles. Mother Meng thought seriously and said after a while, That's true. Mr. Li is really an amazing person. Brother is also amazing. Brother is the best. Yaya, who was next to Meng Wenhao, laughed happily. Our Yaya is also very good. Meng Wenhao couldn't help but pinch his sister's face and smile knowingly. The results of Yanhuang College's entrance exam this time could be said to be highly anticipated. After the exam yesterday, the examinees from all over the country went to Ping Kong Lane to indulge themselves. Naturally, it was inevitable that they would hear from the brothel girls about this year's August 15th, when there was a full moon night and thousands of girls in Ping Kong Lane were chasing the heavenly fairy. As a result, many scholars worshipped the legendary Yamacho of Yinhuang College and looked forward to the release of the results of Yinhuang College tomorrow. The most direct manifestation of this was that the streets, restaurants, and tea houses of Chang, and we're all talking about yesterday's exam. Many people were arguing endlessly about the answers to some of the exam questions. It was very lively. Chapter 682. Yinhuang College, which was the center of the topic, was busy at the moment. Mo Zhong and Mo Yin had been going in and out of Li Zixuan's office several times. One of the brothers specifically went downstairs to help Li Zixuan pick up the test papers, while the other went upstairs to take down the test papers that Li Zixuan had already marked. With such speed, Yin Silu, Li Gang, and the others had already been shocked to the point of numbness. At first, they did suspect that Li Zixuan's speed was so fast that there must be a lot of mistakes. But after Li Gang and Yin Silu jointly checked more than a dozen test papers and didn't find a single mistake, they were completely convinced. They could only classify Li Zixuan as an inhuman. After the other teachers of the various departments heard the news, their admiration for Li Zixuan couldn't be any higher. At 3:30 in the afternoon, Li Zixuan finished marking the test papers on his desk, but Mo Zhong didn't send in any new test papers. He couldn't help but ask, "What's wrong?" Mo Zhong smiled and said, "Yamacho, Mr. Li Gang said that all the test papers have been marked. He said that if you're done here, please go down and count the results together." Li Zixuan said in surprise, "Finished so soon? Okay, I'll go down now." After saying that, he tidied up the test papers. Mo Zhong was very perceptive and came over to help take them away. Evil bureaucracy. And the few of them went downstairs. Remove the name stickers and let the teachers of the various departments start counting the scores. Remember to bring the exam number of each student. After counting, send it to the mathematics department and let the teachers convert the total score of each student into a 100-point system according to the proportion of each subject score. Finally, send the final result to me. After going downstairs and making sure that all the test papers had been marked, Li Zixuan ordered. There were more than 2,000 students participating in the entrance exam this time, and it was inevitable that there would be many people with the same name. At this time, many people began to admire Li Zixuan's exam number system. Otherwise, it would be a mess now. Okay, this won't take much time," Yin Silu said with a smile. Li Zixuan felt that there was no need for him to help with such a small and delicate task, so he took the opportunity to go out and get some fresh air. The previous heavy workload made him feel a little tired. There were still too few talents in the academy. Yamacho, the scores of all the students have been tabulated. 2 hours later, Mo Zhong came over and said in a low voice, I'll go and take a look." Li Zixuan nodded lightly and walked towards Guanghua Building. When Li Zixuan was still a dozen steps away from the conference room, he heard Li Gang's laughter. "I didn't expect this batch of students to achieve such results with only 2 months of preparation time. It's really unexpected," Yin Silu agreed. "Yeah, and what's even more shocking is that 21 of the top 50 students are actually from Yamacho's School of Mathematics. That's terrifying." "Huh, this isn't the information I have. After all, mathematics takes up as much as 50% of the questions in this entrance exam." This was Su Hongji's voice. "Hey, I guess Yamacho didn't expect that one of the top 3 students isn't from the School of Mathematics, right?" Li Zixuan's heart skipped a beat when he heard Wang Ji's last sentence. He quickened his pace and walked in. "Who is it? Let me see who's in the top 3. Before Li Zixuan had even entered the room, his voice had already reached them. Li Zixuan's anxious voice had already reached them. Under his tutelage, many mathematics experts emerged from the previous students of the School of Mathematics. Therefore, Li Zixuan was not too surprised that the former students of the School of Mathematics could enter the top 3. What really surprised him was that there were actually others who could break through and squeeze into the top 3. This was somewhat inconceivable. Yamacho is here. Everyone heard and hurriedly made a path. Li Zixuan realized that the originally spacious conference room was actually so crowded. It turned out that more than 70 teachers were all here. Where are the students' results? Let me see. Li Zixuan didn't reprimand these teachers for leaving their posts because they didn't have anything important to do at this time. He just asked lightly, "It's here. Yamacho, take a look. This old man will guarantee that you'll be shocked after you read it." Yin Silu handed over a small booklet with a smile. Li Zixuan took it and flipped through it. His pupils suddenly shrank, and he said in surprise, Who? Who is this person? Hurry up and get this person's student record." Early the next morning, as soon as the city gates opened, some scholars went out of the city and went straight to Yanhuang College. Obviously, they were going to look at the results. Originally, the results were said to be released at 7:45 a.m., 8 a.m., so it was useless for them to come so early. They could only wait at the entrance of the college. However, some people were really willing to wait. They liked the feeling of being the first to witness the results. It was just like when countless examinees sat in front of the computer and refreshed the web page over and over again before the results of the modern college entrance examination were released. "Feichen, why did you ask us to come so early? Yanhuang College's gates aren't even open yet." The Jinyu Trio was also one of the early teams. Chun Tianhua looked at the situation and was immediately dissatisfied. Aren't I afraid that the college will release the results early? Since we're already here, there's no harm in waiting here. And Tianhua, even if you don't come now, you probably won't be able to sleep at home. Don't you think so? Liao Feichen said embarrassedly. Chun Tianhua said unhappily, "What do you mean I won't be able to sleep? I think you're the one who can't sleep. Why did you have to drag me and Hong Yi along with you to go crazy?" Hua Hongyi waved his folding fan and smiled elegantly. Since we're already here, what's the point of saying more? The scenery on Yinshan is unique. The 3 of us sitting here and discussing the Tao is also a beautiful thing. Chen Tianhua and Liao Feichen were speechless. Who would want to discuss the Tao with Hua Hongyi at this time? No, I say, Aku, there's still an hour before the results are released. Why are we in such a hurry? Yinshan was packed with people, so the path to Yinshan was naturally congested. Smart people would not choose to ride a carriage. So the 2 princes, Li Tai and Li Ku, each rode a light horse and rushed towards Yinshan. On the way, Li Tai could feel that the horse under him was about to collapse. He couldn't help but complain to Li Ku. Li Ku said, Tai, we have to hurry. Think about it. There are more than 2,000 candidates this time. If we don't go early, how can we see the rankings later? And didn't you say before that the Yamacho doesn't like us using our identities to cut the queue? How can we not run faster? Li Tai didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He said, Then can't we send 2 guards to help us see? Yes, this is the result of my 2 months of hard work. I want to see the results with my own eyes. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.